All right, all right. It looks like we are live. Welcome back to another BriHive live stream. What is going on? How was everyone's Thursday? We are coming back today to catch up on a case, or not catch up, finish up a case that we started on Tuesday with Leah McSweeney suing Bravo and Andy Cohen. Now, I know I said that I was going to go over the case and make sure we can get a summary going, but I had a lot going on today. So we're still going to kind of be going through a lot of the document to see what the facts are. And I would love to hear y'all's opinion. So if you guys are watching on live, go ahead and drop in the chat box, letting me know that you're watching live. If you're watching on the replay, make sure you drop in the comment section that you're watching on the replay. Now, this case, we started it on Friday. It's getting a little spicy, and we did a community vote to see what case to cover today, and the majority of the voters wanted to cover this case today. A lot of people were just here for the vibes, which we always love, so hopefully this case will be fun for everyone here watching on the BriHive. If you haven't already, be sure to go ahead and hit the like button to help us out in the algorithm and help us get more friends viewing the live stream. Let's go ahead and check out where we are with the likes already. We are at 11 likes with 9 people watching live. So if you have not hit the like button yet, please do. It definitely helps us out in the algorithm and get new friends. I have not created our what was it called? We needed like a little like swoop. I have not created that yet, and I'm trying to work on that over the weekend. So we still don't have any prizes for the like goal, but we still want to hit our like goal. So since we have about 10 people, 12 people watching live, let's go ahead and set our like goal. Let's reach for the stars again. Let's set our like goal. We'll go with 60 tonight. Like goal is 60. So if you haven't hit the like button, please do, and remind the people as they come into the live stream to remember to hit the like button. Okay, let's go ahead and check out who is watching live with us so far. Again, if you are live, go ahead and drop your chat so that we can say hello, and then we'll jump right into the case. So where is Bossy the Bee? Come on, come girl, you gotta come to work. All right, it looks like we have Crystal Harris giving us some eyes and some laughing faces. Welcome into the live stream. Nice to see you again tonight. We got Crystal Harris also saying live in the hive. We are live in the hive. Welcome back in. Kimmy Locker, our member, moderator, consultant, paralegal of the channel, saying hello, BriHive, dropping some emojis. Hello, and welcome back into the live stream. We have Kayla, and also backstage. Kimmy's backstage too. Kayla Eloisa, another member of the channel, saying hi everyone, hello, and welcome back into the live stream. Nice to see you tonight. We got Destined to Be, moderator and member of the channel, also known as Tanya D, but now changing the name. What are we doing? Are we like Smalls? Tanya, what's going on? You're changing the name too. I'm saying hey everyone, good to see the likes up at the beginning of the stream. Dropping the emojis for us. Welcome back into the live stream. Now I'm gonna have to change your name. Destined to Be, Tanya D. Come on, this is going to be hard for me, but welcome back into the live stream. Nice to have you here tonight. Kayla Eloisa says, watching from PR today. PR, like Puerto Rico? Are you on vacation and watching me? Are you serious? Well, welcome into the live stream. We're happy to have you here and hope that it's a good stream. And if you're on vacation, what are the plans? Let us know what's going on. SLP says, good evening, all. I'm a newbie catching my first live with Bri. Well, welcome into the live stream. We have a newbie into the chat. Welcome in. Nice to have you here. Hopefully this case is not too an aggressive start, because we are talking about discrimination, violation of employment rights, alcoholism, some disability things. So it is a tough case, but we are happy to have you here live nonetheless. We have Destined to Be still. I don't know if I can do this, Tanya. It's still Tanya, just changed the name on the same channel. I'm not cool like Smalls. No, it is okay. I immediately recognized that it was still you. But yeah, I don't know. I see your picture and I just go Tanya D. So I'm going to try to do the new name, okay? I don't know if it's because we want to be anonymous now, but I'm going to try to do the new name. Kimmy Locker says hi to SoCo SLP, saying we're happy to have you here. Yes, of course we are. Mary Malaki says hello, Bri and Chat. Hello and welcome into the live stream. Nice to have you back tonight. Another moderator of the chat, Tanya says, see, as soon as I see her picture, I just say Tanya. Destiny B says, welcome to SoCo SLP. Warm welcomes, of course. Just Me MD says, I'm back in Texas. I'm back on Texas time now, buzzing in and sending love from East Texas. I was so late the last time I did not get to interact with the chat, but I'm gonna make it up tonight. Well, welcome back, Just Me MD. We are happy to have you back tonight. Hope your trip was a good one. Mary Malaki says, I missed your coverage of the Marco versus Marco case. I will watch it this week. That was a good live stream. I went back and did timestamps and everything. I'm like, my live streams are actually pretty cool. Like, I thought they weren't that cool. And that you guys were just supporting me just for fun. But no, that was a really good live stream. So I hope that you enjoy it as well. Destined to Be says hello to everyone coming in. Just Me MD saying welcome and hey to everybody. Destined to Be saying, please call me Tiny. Okay, I'll do Tiny D. Everyone's going to be confused, but okay, we'll do Tiny D. That's fine. And Kimmy Locker says, heck yes, they're cool. Yeah. I was really watching. I'm like kind of funny. You know, I don't describe myself as being funny, but I think I'm a little funny on here. So that was cool to see. Chantel says hello to everyone. Hello and welcome back into the live stream. Nice to have you back tonight. All right, y'all. We're going to jump into this thing because it's long. And I really did. I tried to pre-read and I sat down, I isolated myself, and then my mom called. And I can't just ignore calls from my mom. So I'm not as versed in the case as I wanted to be, but we are here nonetheless. Again, if you have not already hit the like button, please do. We have a like goal for the stream of 60. We have 16 people watching live, and we are at 17 likes. Okay. But if you are just popping in and you have not hit the like button, please do. It does help us out in the algorithm. We get new friends, and eventually we're going to have a cool swoop. Celebrating our like goal. Okay, let's get started. Bossy, come do your job. All right, we're going to start from the beginning on the actual opening to this case because I know we just skimmed through it last time, but just for the people that were not all the way at the end of our nearly 3-hour live stream. Nearly 3-hour live stream Tuesday. We're going to start from the beginning so everyone is on the same page with this one. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Did I already do? Y'all, I'm trying to mark the stream so I know where to put the timestamp so I don't have to go all the way back. So, okay, got it. We have it. Oh gosh, look at me. What are you sharing, dude? What do you have going on? Okay, actually share the screen, Bri. That would be very helpful to everyone if you actually share the screen. Here we are. We are sharing the stream. Oh my gosh, I think somebody just sent people over to the live stream. I don't know. Something weird just popped up on the live stream, but that's okay. All right, another marker to figure out what the heck is going on as far as timestamps. All right, let's jump right into it. We have the complaint and demand for jury trial from Leah McSweeney versus Andy Cohen, a bunch of other people, and Bravo. And that's why we're covering this case, because I like Bravo. I like watching Bravo. I like watching the drama that unfolds on the reality television shows. And lately, they have been being sued quite often. And someone did drop their chat into my chat. I believe it's Uncivil Law that sent some people over. Hello and welcome into the live stream, everyone popping over from Uncivil Law. We are covering Leah McSweeney suing Bravo and Andy Cohen for basically employment discrimination and we'll get into it. We're just at the beginning. So welcome in. Thank you to Uncivil Law for dropping some folks over into the live stream. Definitely appreciate it if you are here, Kurt. Okay, let's go ahead and jump all the way into it. Leah McSweeney suing all the people, including NBC, Universal Media, Bravo, and Andy Cohen. I am listing Andy Cohen because he is a host of a very popular, I guess you would call it a late night talk show on Bravo. And so he's there for like spilling the tea and kind of getting into the drama, talking about things that are happening in the season. So he's a little messy. And so I'm pretty sure that's one of the reasons why he's actually listed. So nature of the case: where there is smoke, there is fire. Defendants discriminated against, tormented, demoralized, demeaned, harassed, and retaliated against Miss Sweeney because she is a woman with disabilities such as alcohol use disorder and various mental health disorders, all in the same name of selling drama. And we talked about this before on Tuesday, whether we can actually consider alcohol use disorder a disability. And Kimmy did some research for us, and it depends if you're diagnosed, and they qualify it as a disability. So if anyone else has any information on whether alcoholism is a disability, please feel free to drop it in the chat. Of course, I forgot to say, for all the people coming in, if you haven't hit the like button, please do. It does help us out in the algorithm and help us get more friends watch it live. So let's actually see where we're at. We're at 38 likes. Our like goal for the stream is 60. We might have to change that now. If you haven't hit the like button, please do. Like I said, it helps us out in the algorithm and get more friends, which we have a lot of friends thanks to Kurt. Yeah, thanks for the Kurt and Uncivil Law dropping his chat off over to my chat. Okay. Okay, let me see here. I think I saw a chat. It went away. But either way, let's jump back into it. I'm sorry, I'm like a little all over the place right now because I was not expecting Kurt to drop his chat into my chat. So I'm a little bit distracted right now, but welcome into all of you guys. So let's see. She says that they discriminated against her because of her alcohol use disorder and her mental health disorders for the purpose of selling dramas. But being in the business of reality television does not relieve defendants of their obligations to follow employment laws that prohibit the exact type of discrimination, hostile work environment, and retaliation that defendants subjected Miss McSweeney to. Now, Miss McSweeney seeks justice. Again, we talked about this on Tuesday, whether it is going to be considered that they violated employment laws. Were they required to make any accommodations for her? Did she request accommodations? Those type of things are going to come out. I imagine it's going to come out in the actual response that she never told us, or if she did tell us, she never requested accommodations. We're asking for this to be dismissed, right? Okay, defendants established a rotted workplace culture that uniquely depended on pressuring its employees to consume alcohol. Defendants, however, abdicated the duties they owed to Ms. McSweeney as her employer to maintain a safe working environment and accommodate Ms. McSweeney's disabilities, including alcohol use disorder and mental health disorders. Instead, defendants, with the knowledge, again, just because they know that does not necessarily require them to then make these accommodations without being requested. Okay, where was I at? Instead, defendants, with the knowledge that Ms. McSweeney struggled with alcohol use disorder, colluded with her colleagues to pressure Ms. McSweeney to drink, retaliated against her when she wanted to stay sober, and intentionally failed to provide reasonable accommodations that would aid her efforts to stay sober and able to perform. Defendants also employed psychological warfare, intentionally weaponizing to break Ms. McSweeney's psyche. Defendants knew Ms. McSweeney suffered from depression, but intimidated and prevented her from visiting her dying grandmother by implicitly threatening to terminate her employment and cut her pay if she left the filming location. Defendants also knew of Ms. McSweeney's bipolar depression and anxiety disorders, yet rather than engaging in the interactive process to provide Ms. McSweeney with reasonable accommodations, defendants trapped her alone in a foreign country and manipulated her castmates into traumatizing Ms. McSweeney. That's a lot. That's a lot of allegations, okay? Defendants repeatedly engaged in retaliation against Ms. McSweeney rather than accommodating her disabilities as they are legally obligated to do. Defendants created an enterprise that ventures to discriminate against and harass its employees and attempts to silence its employees by forcing them to sign overly broad, unconscionable confidentiality provisions which defendants admit were not enforceable and which defendants admit are meant to scare participants from speaking out and making defendants' unlawful employment practices and patterns of retaliation public. This these type of claims are made a lot in these kind of cases where we're suing television shows, other employers, because they all sign these NDAs, right? And these employment agreements that they are going to indemnify the defendant, and they're going to only get approval to do certain interviews and things like that. We covered that on the Love is Blind contract. We went through all of those things. Like I said before, the Bravo contract is probably a lot more detailed than Love is Blind just because they've been in the business for quite a while. And she's basically saying that some of these provisions are unconscionable, which a lot of times they probably are. And when we say unconscionable, we're just talking about they're unfair and it should have never been in a contract, and you can't enforce this provision because it's illegal, right? Miss McSweeney brings this action to hold defendants accountable for their unlawful employment acts of disability discrimination, hostile work environment, retaliation, sex and gender discrimination. Reality, there's a comma and a period there. I don't know why. And I think it's supposed to be a period. Sorry, we always have to point out the typos. I missed it on Tuesday because I guess I was tired. Reality always reveals itself. These unconscionable practices will no longer be tolerated. The pattern of discrimination and retaliation must stop. It is time. It is time that defendants answer. Okay, so she went through all of that. It's interesting. I don't quite know if she's going to be able to prove the violation of employment law and also the disabilities. If she was able to show that, hey, I requested these changes, you're not making these changes, whatever it may be. We'll get more into the details of what actually happened here, but it sounds bad. It looks bad. I don't think it's fair. Okay. I will say that. Let me actually move no, I wanted to move it. No, this way, that way. Okay. That's a little better because my head is not getting blocked by the thingy. Okay. Where was I at with this? Where was I at here? I forgot exactly what I was saying. But anyways, she's bringing this action, basically suing them for coming onto a show that has been on for seasons. And even if we're only talking about the Real Housewives of New York, they're on season 11 by time or season 12 by time she joins. This show has been out. We see commercials. Even if you don't watch the show, you know it's filled with drama. You've seen people throwing alcoholic drinks and beverages at people. And to come onto the show and say that you didn't know this was the work environment, I don't know if she's going to succeed on that. And I think that's going to be very interesting to see how the court rules on it, if it even makes it past a motion to dismiss, because I know they are going to make a motion to dismiss this case. Rather than like on other shows like Love is Blind, although we can probably assume that they're drinking and having a good time, and sometimes they put a bottle of alcohol on the table, which insinuates that they're drinking, it's a little bit more toned down than in the Real Housewives. They're always having dinner parties and there's a bartender, always having dinner parties and they're serving champagne and wine and cocktails and wine tasting and cocktail tasting. It's almost like every scene where these ladies get together, almost every scene, there is alcohol depicted in the scene. So I'm really interested to see how the court would order or make a decision regarding this when it's kind of a known thing that the Real Housewives are always lit, right? They're always lit. So how is the court really going to analyze this? So let's go ahead and jump into, we did skip over the arbitration clause last time, but we are going to go ahead and talk about the arbitration clause. Again, I might skip around a little bit, but we are still going to get into this. We skipped it, but we're going to get into it a little bit here. So let's see where we're at actually with our like goal. We are at 57 likes. We're about to pass our like goal. So I'm going to change our like goal to 100. So we are not going to celebrate 60, y'all. If you have not hit the like button, please do. It does help us out in the algorithm and get some more friends watching live with us. Also, shout out to everyone who has been chatting. That also interacts with the algorithm, and I definitely appreciate that. And thanks for everyone that stayed from uncivil law because, you know, welcome to the BriHive. We definitely appreciate you guys for staying and catching up on the case with us. So let's go ahead and jump on in. Okay, Defendants cannot weaponize the arbitration clause to silence Ms. McSweeney's claim of abuse. We have talked about arbitration clauses several times on this channel, and more recently we've talked about it in P. Diddy's, or whatever we want to call him, Diddy's tequila lawsuit. And there was another case that we covered that had the Love is Blind. They have to do arbitration and they're suing her for $4 million. While the court did not hold that the arbitration clause did not apply, they are still holding on to the case in the actual courts. Arbitration is basically like mediation, but kind of like a court, because you have either attorneys or retired judges deciding cases for you instead of going to a judge. They have rules that they have to follow, and of course they have to follow the law. And a lot of the contracts for these reality TV shows, and really a lot of contracts that you get into with anybody, next time you're signing something for someone to do work on your house or whatever it may be, next time you're signing a contract, I urge you to go through the contract, and 9 times out of 10, there is going to be an arbitration clause in there telling you that you cannot sue them in court and that you are all to try to figure out your issues through an arbitrator, which is not a court. And a lot of times it's mandatory arbitration, and the decision is final versus being able to then appeal it and take it to a court, which is kind of interfering with your right to be heard by a judge and have your matter adjudicated. But when you enter into these agreements, you are signing away that right. So I urge you, next time you have to sign a contract, you make sure you look. There's probably going to be something in there towards the end of the contract saying if any disputes arise, you agree to settle it by arbitration. Because arbitration is cheaper, right? Arbitration is cheaper. It doesn't get as public, all of the things. So let's get into it. Okay, so plaintiff and defendant Bravo entered into a contract on October 4th, 2019. The employment contract stipulates that either party's dispute against the other regarding the employment contract shall be resolved in a confidential arbitration. Again, something that cannot go public, like how we are here reading all of their business on the internet. The Miss McSweeney's claims against defendants, however, do not pertain to defendants' breaches of either the contract or either one of the contracts. Rather, Ms. McSweeney complains that defendants habitually engaged in unlawful employment practices in violation of their obligation under relevant federal, state, and city employment laws as set forth herein. So instead of saying that the defendants, instead of saying that the defendants breach, or saying that, the defendants breached the contract, she's actually suing under other laws that are not covered by the contract. So she's not subjected to arbitration. Okay, included in those acts are set forth herein. Defendants sexually harassed Ms. McSweeney as further detailed below, which would also render the arbitration clause unenforceable. Why? Because that is illegal. You cannot basically contract away crimes, right? You can't contract away crimes. If you're committing crimes against somebody, you cannot contract that away. And there's another, it's called something else as well, but it is not coming to my mind. So you cannot contract away like sexual harassment and other crimes, sexual crimes, I guess I want to say. Also, in both the New York contract and the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip contract, Ms. McSweeney is a party to a confidentiality clause. Until recently, Ms. McSweeney feared that defendants would weaponize this confidentiality clause and silence Ms. McSweeney's claims of abuse. However, amidst mounting pressure that these clauses were being used to scare victims of unlawful employment practices from speaking out, defendants have acknowledged that they are not enforceable to prevent such disclosure. So they have a confidentiality clause. They're not supposed to tell what's going on in where they're filming. But remember, if you were here a while ago on the channel, we covered another Real Housewives show where they're suing over the Ultimate Girls Trip for SA, sexual assault. So I'm guessing they're saying amid that lawsuit, Bravo is now admitting that this arbitration or the confidentiality clause, you can't talk about what happens behind closed doors in shooting. I guess they're admitting that contract is unenforceable. Indeed, lawyers for defendant Bravo confirmed that they would not enforce the confidentiality clause against any Bravo employee's claim of abuse. They said the confidentiality clauses are standard practice in reality programming to prevent disclosure of storylines prior to air. They are not intended to prevent disclosure by cast and crew of unlawful acts in the workplace. That's what I was looking for. And they have not been enforced in that matter. To be clear, any current or former cast or crew is free to discuss and disclose any allegedly unlawful acts in the workplace, such as harassment or discrimination or any other conduct that they have reason to believe is inappropriate. We are also working with a third-party production companies to remind all cast and crew that they are encouraged to report any such concerns through the channels made available by the production companies so concerns can be promptly addressed. Okay, so this was from August 2023. So maybe it wasn't that lawsuit that we recently covered that made them realize they can't hide behind a confidentiality clause, which that is very, that's interesting. As a matter of public policy, the arbitration and confidentiality clauses are unenforceable because both would operate in tandem to ensure that Ms. McSweeney cannot disclose defendant's abuse even in a court. I don't know if she fully proved. I mean, the arbitration, yeah, that wouldn't be covered by an employment contract. Okay, Ms. McSweeney exhausted all administrative remedies. She basically took this to the New York State Human Rights Department. She had a case going forward for the sexual harassment and the discrimination for her disabilities. She ultimately requested that her case be dismissed voluntarily and she be provided with a right to sue letter. They eventually gave her that right to sue letter. So I don't know if we want to go through the defendant's background. Let's go ahead and jump into the chat because we got a couple chats that we have I want to get through, and then we'll get into the actual facts of the case to see what she's alleging. What is she alleging in this case? I don't know why I'm saying so much tonight. I think I don't know. Okay, so let's see what's going on with the chat. We got Tanya D saying, oh, it's still Tanya, just changed the name on the channel. I'm not cool like Smalls. Okay, I think I already got that chat. Yes, Tanya. A Hedinger, I think that's right, says, don't do the employment discrimination. It's not nice. Oh, as far as the cause of action, is that what you're talking about? And later on in the lawsuit, Melissa Smith says, can you imagine how many people would be drunk at work if we could claim that as a disability? And it's not necessarily providing them to be drunk at work. She's saying that she had an alcohol problem, and so they should not have basically brought alcohol around her. Which is interesting, right? That's interesting, although she knows what the premise of the show is. Oxalotland, I can't say that word normally, and you added some extra stuff on there. Says therapist/psychology answer is also it depends on alcohol dependency and addiction frequently have comorbid issues. Exactly, and I think you have to be diagnosed, and I talked about this on Tuesday. You're probably bringing up you're not that you're probably bringing up, she's opening up the door for them to now request her medical records to determine whether she does have this disorder, or is she just self-diagnosing, right? Would she be able to get away with self-diagnosis saying, oh, well, I'm depressed, but she's never been to a therapist, or, oh, I have alcohol disorder, and she's never been to a doctor to diagnose these issues and to basically put her on a treatment plan. I would be interested to see if it gets that far, but I think she is opening, or no, she's not. I don't think she is opening up the door for them to get into her medical records and people on the internet to potentially see them. Now, could the court seal those records? Sure, but it's a court case. Court cases are public, so it's a possibility that more people than she would like could potentially see her medical records, right? Crystal Harris says they made alcoholics sound really pretty. Shaking my head. Yes, you did, right? Soko SLP says, heaven help me if she has a here we go. I hope she doesn't have a 504 plan. I don't know. I don't know. Tony D says, eagle-eyed Bree always catch the typos. Yeah, I missed it on Tuesday. So I was like, oh, wow, this is a comma and a period. And it looks, I think I saw that it looked weird on Tuesday or read weird, but I didn't notice that it had 2 punctuations. Just Me MD says, I notice a lot of not so reality TV shows. Example, The Challenge on MTV, Baddies on Zeus Network provide a lot of alcohol for their peeps. Yeah, and so there are a lot of lawsuits coming out about those kind of issues more recently. But to me, with the Real Housewives franchise, they're very open. Everyone always had, not everyone, but a lot of people always have drinks in their hands whenever they are getting together. Versus The Challenge, yeah, they drink for sure. But like Love is Blind, we talked about earlier, their consumption of alcohol is a little bit more hidden than Real Housewife franchise. Let me know if y'all agree with that or disagree. Jazzy G, another member of the channel, says, yeah, it sounds bad. It does sound bad. And a lot of people are freaking suing Bravo recently. So I think either they're going to like try to settle these things quickly or try to get them dismissed as quickly as possible. A. Hedinger says, I would put money that you're underestimating how common it is for the alcohol. For which one? Mary Jane says, I'm not a fan of those reality shows treating contestants bad, but like it is weird. They always drink on Housewives, so why do they have sober people there? Because they want drama. And we're going to get into it. It turns out at the time that she joined, she actually was not sober. So again, you're telling them that you have a disability. You've already breached your disability, and then now you want them to handle your disability for you. That is an interesting point. I mean, not an interesting point, but that's an interesting angle to take, right? You're not even dealing with your disability properly. And if you know that you have relapsed, maybe you shouldn't join this show. Maybe you should take some time to work on yourself. Now, does that excuse the defendants for employment violations? No, it doesn't. But the question is, did they violate any employment laws? Interesting to have an employer that lets you drink on the job, right? Melissa Smith says they must make all cast and crew on reality shows sign NDAs. I think we would hear a lot more of these stories. Yes, they do. And so that's what they were talking about, the confidentiality agreement. Same thing, NDA. Don't disclose what goes on behind closed doors. Melissa Smith says, being on a reality show would be torture to me. My shyness would become a full-blown social anxiety and panic attacks. Exactly. And you have cameras in your face all the time. You're talking to people that maybe you wouldn't normally talk to because the show is kind of forcing you into these situations. I definitely could not have somebody telling me where I can and can't go, i.e. them telling her she can't go see her grandma who is passing away or that had passed away. That is out of control for me. I forgot to do my little marker, but we'll get to it. Mary Jane says, I really don't get the alcohol use disorder. I drink to self-medicate my other disorders. And that could potentially be something that she has going on. Jerry Lass says, I was just changing a blowout now. I'm a stay-home schooling dad. He's fighting it by pulling on my beard. The struggle is real. He really struggles. No, I'm sorry that you're going through that. Just Me MD says, I saw a few interviews with some reality stars that broke contract and stated some of the ways in which they portray is not their true character. The producers often baited them to cause more drama. That's true. And they also cut up the scenes however they want to. They can basically make you say whatever they want you to say and make it sound however they want. Mary Malaki says this is messy. It is, and we're going to get into a lot more of the facts. A Hedinger says, now, how common arbitration clause is? I'd bet it's a more than 9 out of 10 of contract. It's probably all. You're right. It's probably all. And a lot of times they're just not enforceable, right? You have to have the ability. The court normally turns them down, especially like the mandatory arbitrations. Especially because like when you're first getting into a contract, it may sound all fine and dandy. You don't think anyone's going to violate your rights, but then you get into the contract and now they're violating your rights. So you're probably right. It's probably 10 out of 10 or 9.9 out of 10 is going to have an arbitration clause in there. Okay, let's jump back into it. Well, before we do that, let's actually see. We are at 70 likes. If you have not hit the like button, please do. Our goal for the stream is 100 likes. We have 64 people watching live. So I think we can make it to 100 likes tonight. So again, if you haven't already, please do hit the like button. It does help us out in the algorithm, and we get to celebrate hitting our like goal. So let's jump back into it. Okay, I thought I was ready, but I'm not. Okay, so we're not going to go through the defendants because they're just talking mess about them. Okay, introduction to the Real Housewives Enterprise. The Real Housewives is a reality television series aired on Inter Alia. Okay. Defendant Bravo, which is a television network owned and run by NBC. The Real Housewives consists of programming that dramatically exploits the personal and professional lives of affluent women in various series across the United States, most of whom often openly or secretly suffer from mental health disabilities, personality disorders, and addiction disability. Now, I'm not trying to laugh, but that's not how I would describe the show. But the fact that you're saying that a bunch of these women on the show have personality disorders, I think that's kind of shade. I think that's a little bit shady. Okay. Each woman who appears on the Real Housewives production is referred to as a housewife. The defendant's antiquated view of what a woman should be and how they should be treated, which is markedly different than the men on the show, infects every aspect of the Housewives production. Defendant's desperate treatment of women like Miss McSweeney began with her very name of let me get my life together. Defendant's desperate treatment of women like Miss McSweeney began with the very name of their reality television show. The word housewife forces its subject into proverbial kitchen by demeaning and diminishing its subject's individual careers, success, and livelihoods, and encouraging the women on the show to engage in what they view as female drama, bickering and infighting amongst the female cast members. Okay. Did she not know this? Male talent, however, are treated with deference. Their careers are highlighted and exalted, and they are not nearly as often featured and engaging in drama with the other cast members. But they don't show the men a lot. I mean, I haven't watched Real Housewives in a while, but maybe they show the men a lot more. I don't know. But my understanding is it's the ladies' show. So why would they be highlighting the men as much as this lady is wanting them to? Upon information and belief, The Real Housewives premiered in or around spring of 2006. Oh, wow. I thought it's been out longer. They created the New York in September of 2007. So they're kind of one of the longest running shows or cities, I guess. I don't know what you would call them. Due to a large part, the New York Housewives franchise became a cultural phenomenon. I never watched them, but to each their own. I watched Beverly Hills, Atlanta, Potomac, and I think that's it. I think those are all the ones I watch. They're on Peacock with the Ultimate Girls Club or Girls Trip. They had 2 seasons of the Ultimate Girls Trip. And by defendants there's 2 seasons of the Ultimate Girls Trip and referred to by media and the defendants as the ex-wives clubs, which further perpetuates defendants' sexist belief that a woman's value exists only to the extent that she is tied to a male-dominated enterprise such as Real Housewives. Defendants' patronizing attitudes towards female cast members permeates through production. And again, y'all, we skipped this on Tuesday. That's interesting. The start of the show, the fact that they're trying to say, oh, they're kind of demean women by calling them housewives. But my thing is, like, you already know the name of the show when you join. So I don't know. I'm kind of not behind her on that particular portion of the complaint. I'm sorry. I'm not behind her on that. I don't think the housewife, because when I watch the Real Housewives, what I do see is actually a lot of successful women that are lawyers and, business women and owning restaurants and things. I see a lot of that. Now, are there some characters who are not that successful? I thought the Real Housewives was kind of like a a play on words of they're rich people and maybe they're married to rich men, but a lot of times they do have their own stuff. I never really saw them as being like actual housewives. I thought it was more of showing the luxury lifestyle, but the women are also successful. So I don't agree with their description of why they use the words Real Housewives. I treat it like an oxymoron. Let me know if y'all agree with that in the chat or if I'm just tripping. Because I rarely see them taking care of their kids. A lot of them, their kids are grown. So no, they're not taking care of kids. It's like very far and few in between where they are taking care of the kids. And most of the time they have nannies and maids and things like that. So I don't know if I agree with the characterization of what the show is meant to portray as far as the women. Is there drama? Absolutely. But them being housewives, so they're like lower than men, I don't think so. I think a lot of times the women have better jobs than the men. Okay. Prior to joining the Real Housewives of New York, Miss McSweeney had maintained her sobriety for approximately 9 years. 5 months prior to joining the New York franchise, Miss McSweeney relapsed into alcohol use disorder. So that's what I was talking about earlier. She wasn't even sober when she joined. In or around 2019, defendants approached Miss McSweeney with the opportunity to appear as a cast member on the New York version. In McSweeney's initial casting tape, Miss McSweeney disclosed that she had broken her sobriety and began to consume alcohol again. And to me, I feel like that's one of the reasons why they probably asked her to join, because, okay, you're going to have some drama. You're battling with something, you were sober and now you're not sober. Are you going to lean into not being sober, or are you going to lean into being sober? And maybe these girls can kind of support you. That could have been a storyline, right? But like she said, if you got all these women, according to her, they all have mental health and personality disorders, all of them. So it probably wasn't the best place for her to be. And I would like to see what Bravo knew and what they were required to do. It doesn't just automatically apply just because someone says, oh, I was sober, but now I'm drinking. Does that then require Bravo to say, okay, we can't bring alcohol around her because she used to be an alcoholic? I don't think it does. So let's go on. In or around 2019, defendants created an employment relationship with McSweeney, and they knew of the alcohol disorder at the time. Just before Miss McSweeney began filming, a defendant's producer began to use their position of power as Miss McSweeney's employers to discriminate against Miss McSweeney. And I guess she's going to tell us how they're discriminating. Near or around the beginning of filming, Miss McSweeney regained sobriety and expressed to defendant producer and various cast members her desire to maintain sober while filming. Okay, so I was wrong. It looks like she got sober at the beginning of the filming, but when she did her interview, she was not sober. After Miss McSweeney told her employers and her newfound sobriety, none of the defendants engaged in any type of interactive process with Miss McSweeney regarding reasonable accommodations that would help her maintain sobriety. My question is, what could they have done? Were they handing her the drinks, or was she just not supposed to be around the drinks? I don't know. But usually, if you are sober, I'm pretty sure when you go to AA and you go, oh, I'm going to go on a reality TV show where there's a lot of alcohol and I think I'll be fine, and you just relapse, I'm thinking your sponsor is probably going to tell you not to do that. And in addition to that, like, okay, let's say you're not a Real Housewives and you say, oh, well, I'm sober now, but I want to be a bartender. I'm pretty sure your sponsor is going to tell you, I don't think right now is the time for you to be a bartender, right? If a bartender applies for a job and they're sober, does the restaurant have to change all of their menus to mocktails? I don't think so. So unless they're handing her the liquor, I don't know. I don't think I really agree with her at this point. But let's go on. And like I said, it depends on what they knew. And if she made any suggestion like, hey, I can't be any scenes with alcohol right now, blah, blah, blah. Did she say anything, or does she just expect them to come up with a plan? That's my question. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, instead, beginning in around October 2019, defendant producer nefariously began to extract personal, confidential information regarding Ms. McSweeney's disabilities, which they would later use against her. Upon information and belief, beginning in October 2019, defendant producers developed an artificially close relationship with Ms. McSweeney so as to manipulate Ms. McSweeney into confiding in them regarding her alcohol use disorder and mental health disabilities and further potential scenarios that might trigger her relapse into alcohol use disorder or otherwise exacerbate her mental health disabilities. The result was that defendant producers cultivated a treasure trove of Miss McSweeney's dark secrets with intent to place her in situations known to exacerbate her alcohol use disorder and mental health disabilities because they thought that intentionally making these conditions worse would create good television. I would like to know what they did. She's speaking very vaguely. How did they put her into situations? Is she not supposed to be in scenes? Would that result in her not making as much money? Because if everybody else drinks and you don't, and you can't just be around alcohol, I don't know if they're required to make that kind of accommodation. Okay. And like I say, accommodations have to be reasonable. If your whole show is about people getting lit and there's one person that doesn't want to get lit, if they're around alcohol, they're going to get lit, then I don't know what they could, just like I said, the bartender. Are we changing all of our drinks to mocktails because one of our bartenders just became sober? Or they applied and then let us know they were sober after they applied? Are we now supposed to not have any alcohol in our bar? I don't know. I don't think we can do that. Upon information and belief, defendant Cohen and defendant producers discriminated against Ms. McSweeney's mental health and alcohol use disorder by intentionally planning scenarios intended to exacerbate Ms. McSweeney's disabilities throughout the season. Upon information and belief, defendant producers did this to drive Ms. McSweeney to the brink of insanity and force her to break her sobriety because it would create morbidly salacious reality TV. Okay, let me know what they did. You're just talking vaguely. I'm starting to not be on her side, and I feel kind of bad because if this is true, it's a bad situation to be in, but I'm kind of starting not to be on her side. She's not telling me what they did. The show is premised on being around alcohol majority of the time. So did she not want to have to go to those scenes, or did she want to make those scenes non-alcoholic? Someone's throwing a party. They can't have alcohol at their party because you're going to be there. I don't know. That's like a pregnant woman coming to your party. Are you not supposed to have alcohol at a party because the pregnant woman is going to be there? I don't know if that's reasonable, right? The fact that defendant producers are employed to produce a reality television show, however, does not permit defendant producer to carte blanche ignore their legal obligations to engage in the interactive process, make legally required reasonable, like you said, reasonable accommodations for or to discriminate against Ms. McSweeney's mental health and addiction related to disabilities. Defendant producers had a legal obligation to engage in an interactive process regarding how to accommodate Ms. McSweeney and to reasonably accommodate her disabilities. Defendant producers maliciously disregarded these obligations and chose to discriminate against Ms. McSweeney on the basis of her disability by engaging in guerrilla-type psychological warfare intended to pressurize Ms. McSweeney into a psychological break and cause Ms. McSweeney to relapse. Shortly thereafter, what did they do? I'm still confused about what they did. Shortly thereafter, in April 2nd, 2022 or 2020, Ms. McSweeney debuted as a cast member on season 12. Unbeknownst to Ms. Sweeney, in the time between fall 2019 and throughout season 12, defendants intended to weaponize Ms. McSweeney's alcohol use disorders as a main storyline in season 12. Ms. McSweeney told defendant producer that she had not consumed alcohol for 30 days prior to the date that she began filming and that she was working to maintain her sobriety. Ms. McSweeney told defendant producer that she was intensely concerned about relapsing into alcohol use disorder on national television. Okay, maybe she's about to tell us something. Once again, because Ms. McSweeney told defendant producers that she was disabled, defendant producers became legally obligated to Ms. McSweeney with reasonable accommodations, and they failed to do so. Again, I think she has to request them. I think you have to request them because you can't just, oh, I have alcohol disorder. Make it better. I have low vision. If I tell my employer I have low vision, and they go, okay, like what are they supposed to do? can you give me a different computer screen? That's a reasonable accommodation. Okay, yeah, we can get you this computer screen to help your vision or whatever it may be, right? But just to tell them, I don't know if that makes them legally obligated to do something at that point. I think you have to request it. I have to look deeper into this because I'm not a discrimination lawyer, but I'm pretty sure you have to request it. Instead, defendant producers pressured Ms. McSweeney to drink, and upon information and belief, directed and or encouraged the New York cast members to do the same. And I have not watched this season, so maybe they did encourage her. Defendant producers not only supplied Ms. McSweeney with unlimited free of charge alcoholic beverages throughout Ms. McSweeney's employment as a cast member on season 12, but also encouraged her to consume those alcoholic beverages. Okay, so now we're getting into them kind of, but again, I don't know if that is employment discrimination. I don't know if that is. Peer pressure? Sure. But I don't know if that's discrimination. Okay. This environment caused Ms. McSweeney to relapse into alcohol addiction shortly after. Again, a bartender that's sober working at a bar. I kind of don't feel bad for her. If they are pressuring her, yeah, to me, that's rude. But does it qualify as a lawsuit? Like, okay, she told you that she's trying to be sober and you're trying to, haha, girl, you got to drink. Yeah, that's rude. But I don't know if that's employment discrimination, right? It's like a bartender. Like I said, the bartender working at the bar becomes sober. I don't think they're going to remove all the alcohol, but what they may do is remove them from working behind the bar, and maybe now you're a waiter. You're a waiter outside of the bar area, so you're least likely to make it so that you're least likely to come into contact with alcohol. Or maybe you move to the back and now you're a sous chef, right? You don't just remove alcohol from the bar. If they're encouraging her, I mean, I feel like that's some different kind of liability, but I don't think that's employment discrimination. Especially if it's like the other cast members doing it. Okay, so while relapsing, Ms. McSweeney grew mentally and physically ill, which manifested into extreme depressive symptoms, with all of which occurred while defendant producers were present in filming Ms. McSweeney. Accordingly, they were clearly on notice of this occurrence. Defendants never offered Ms. McSweeney any accommodations for the aggravated mental health symptoms and relapse. Instead, defendants exacerbated Ms. McSweeney's disability by increasingly pressuring her to consume alcoholic beverages. After certain cast members expressed concern with Ms. McSweeney's erratic behavior, defendant Shannon called Ms. McSweeney and, rather than discuss any accommodations that Ms. McSweeney might need, told Ms. McSweeney that despite relapsing into alcohol use disorder, Ms. McSweeney should continue to consume alcohol so long as she remained lucid while filming. Did she tell you should continue to consume it, or that you can as long as you don't get crazy? Okay, let's go on. The Hurricane Leah episode became the highest rated episode of the New York season 12, all due to defendant's exacerbation of Ms. McSweeney's clear disabilities. Upon information and belief, because exacerbation of Ms. McSweeney's disability directly caused defendants unprecedented success, defendants continue to ignore their obligation to engage in their interactive process or provide reasonable accommodations throughout the pendency of Ms. McSweeney's employment, even when Ms. McSweeney asked for them. Okay, so now she's let us know that she's requested them. Took us, what is this? We're on page 15 to get there. She said that she requested them. In fact, defendants continue to discriminate against Ms. McSweeney and ignore her request for accommodations after the season 12 wrap. After Ms. McSweeney regained her sobriety at the conclusion of the season, defendant producers forced her to partake in confessionals, where defendant producers told Ms. McSweeney to say lines such as "time for a drink" without any care or interactive process regarding accommodating Ms. McSweeney's disability, especially in light of the fact that Ms. McSweeney had again recently became sober. Again, they're telling you to say something. Is she required to say that? I don't know. Defendant producer did so notwithstanding their collective and individual knowledge of Ms. McSweeney's alcohol use disorder and that she was attempting to maintain her newfound sobriety. After Ms. McSweeney regained her sobriety and told defendants that she intended to remain sober, defendants also created a special episode called Leah's Best Moments that was essentially a highlight reel of Ms. McSweeney's relapse. In the midst of her renewed sobriety, defendants forced Ms. McSweeney to narrate the special episode, which required Ms. McSweeney to watch as she relapsed into alcohol use disorder and humiliate herself by commenting on its supposed hilarity. Hilarity? Is that how you say that? Rather than allow Ms. McSweeney to engage in a truthful dialogue that was helpful for her sobriety. That is bad. Okay, I agree with her. That's bad. Ms. McSweeney felt extraordinarily uncomfortable and targeted throughout filming both the confessional scenes and narrating the Leah Best Moments episode. But because defendant's producer controlled Ms. McSweeney's public image, she felt she had no choice but to comply with whatever defendant producer told her to say regarding her alcohol use disorder. Ms. McSweeney also understood from other cast and crew that if she did not follow the directions of defendant's producer, they would retaliate against her. Defendants retrospectively summarized New York season 12, defined early on by boozy chaos and thrown tiki torches, and that party lifestyle was especially concerning given Miss McSweeney's early admission that she had been to rehab and had been sober for years prior to filming. Let's see. Defendant Cohen also admitted there was a discomfort at Bravo with the amount of alcohol this season and with the lack of awareness of it on behalf of some of the women. And that has been a recurring thing with the New York Housewives. There's already a negative association with the New York Housewives and alcohol, and this season it seemed to be worse than ever. Again, if you knew that, why sign up for the show? Long after the New York season 12 concluded, defendants continued to discriminate against McSweeney's alcohol use disorder. In the book that defendant Cohen commissioned, Not All Diamonds and Rosé, defendant Cohen included an interview from former New York housewife Sonia Morgan. Morgan disparaged both Ms. McSweeney and Ms. McSweeney's non-cast member sister for the alcohol consumption on the season 12 cast trip. Upon information and belief, defendant Cohen chose to include this interview and other like interviews with the intent to humiliate, degrade, and demean Ms. McSweeney on the basis of her alcohol disorder disability. Defendants did not target their discrimination against Ms. McSweeney uniquely to her alcohol disorder throughout season 12. Defendants also exploited Ms. McSweeney's mental health disabilities with intent to characterize and portray Ms. McSweeney as the deeply sexist archetypical archetypical role of an emotionally irrational, hysterical woman. Upon information and belief, defendants colluded with the fellow New York cast member, Ramona Singer, to out Ms. McSweeney's confidential bipolar disorder diagnosis before Ms. McSweeney disclosed it publicly. Upon information and belief, as a direct result of defendant producer's plan, Singer maliciously rumored to other cast members that Ms. McSweeney suffered from bipolar disorder. Again, that's wrong. You are invading her medical privacy. But the question is, how did they find out about the bipolar? And she's calling it confidential. Is there a HIPAA violation? Did she disclose records to them that they then disclosed to someone else? I don't know if that would be a HIPAA violation. Because that's usually for, the person disclosing it, particularly medical providers. I don't know if that would be a HIPAA violation, but whatever. Singer stated that Ms. McSweeney's behavior while drinking could be attributed to both Ms. McSweeney's bipolar diagnosis and falsely posited that Ms. McSweeney abused her bipolar medication by combining the prescription with alcohol. Ms. McSweeney complained that Singer's outing of her mental health disability caused her to suffer extreme anxiety and depression, thereby exacerbating her disclosed mental disabilities. At least she's given us a little more information about what she's considering what they're doing to her to be this discrimination. Now, is it vicariously liable for what these cast members are doing? I don't think so. Unless she can prove that Bravo actually gave her the information rather than her like overhearing it or whatever it is. I don't know if she can hold Bravo vicariously liable for this information getting out. Well, let's see. Defendant producers had a duty to accommodate Ms. McSweeney or engage in an interactive process with Ms. McSweeney to develop a mutually agreed upon accommodation, but the defendants failed to do so. She complained of depression and anxiety as a direct result of Singer's action. Defendant producers even attempted to gaslight Miss McSweeney into falsely believing that her worsened mental health symptoms did not exist. Furthermore, Miss McSweeney repeatedly requested accommodations when her mental health disorder were exacerbated. For example, after Miss McSweeney relapsed during the Hurricane Leah Cash trip, Ms. McSweeney complained to defendant producer that she was experiencing a panic attack and requested relief from the filming schedule. Rather than accommodate Ms. McSweeney or engage in an interactive process to develop an accommodation for Ms. McSweeney, defendant Shannon told Ms. McSweeney that she would help craft Ms. McSweeney's storyline that veiled threat if Ms. McSweeney did not film the scene. Defendant Shannon would edit Ms. McSweeney poorly to turn viewers against Miss McSweeney. That again is wrong. Just because she's not filming, you can't then edit her to be bad. But honestly, it sounds like they edit her to be bad anyway, so she might as well have just left at that point. But no, I definitely understand being under contract. For example, on the Real Housewives of New York and WWHL, which I don't know what that is off the top of my head, Watch What Happens Live, defendant Cohen habitually forces housewife, including Miss McSweeney, to publicly discuss details of their sex life, badgering housewives about whether they have taken a dip in the lady pond. Okay, that ended weird, the way the sentence was structured. Similarly, at the Real Housewives Season 12 reunion, defendant Cohen highlighted the fact that Miss McSweeney and castmates Tinsley Mortimer shared a platonic on-screen kiss. Defendant Cohen then proceeded to interrogate Miss McSweeney regarding whether Miss Mortimer was a good kisser and sexualized the pair by remarking that the kiss was hot and steamy. Upon information and belief, though many husbands of the housewives have shared same-sex on-screen kisses, defendant Cohen does not question the husbands about their sexual preference on air or behind the scenes as he does with the women, nor does he comment on the husband's increased sexual desirability resulting from those kisses. Also, at the Season 12 reunion, defendant Cohen repeatedly inappropriately asked Miss McSweeney about a tattoo that she had near her genital area. Upon information and belief, defendant Cohen does not question men that appear on The Real Housewives regarding whether the men have tattoos near the respective genital areas. And while we're talking about men, is one of her claims is discrimination based on sex. So he's not asking the men this, he's only asking the women this, and he asked her that. So that's one of the other reasons why they're bringing up the defendant Cohen's intent to create a narrative that the housewives are promiscuous sexual objects, especially because defendant Cohen does not ask the same questions to the male counterparts. Ultimately, upon information and belief, defendants intend to perpetuate gender-based stereotypes by treating and portraying Miss McSweeney as hysterical, uncontrollable, alcohol-addicted woman who is a sex object. That is intense. That was intense and a big jump. Maybe because I'm not like so easily offended by things. I don't know if I agree all the way, but you know. Okay. Well, let's see here. It said that they had disparately sexist treatment and disability discrimination against Sweeney caused her to suffer severe emotional distress. Miss McSweeney, however, felt afraid to voice her concerns more than she had for fear that she would be retaliated against. Ultimately, Miss McSweeney feared speaking out publicly because she feared that defendants will fire her and blackball her from the industry, like many before her. Maybe I'm just like, I don't all the way agree. I don't know if I agree. What do y'all think? Let me know what y'all think in the chat so far. I'll comment as comments come in, but I understand what she's saying. I don't know if they're going to be able to prove, and that's fine because certain portions of complaints can be strucken out while other complaints go forward. She took 15 pages to get into some of the actual discrimination that was occurring and also asking for accommodations. She took forever to get into that. Hence probably why we have a 109-page complaint to begin with. But I don't know. Let me know what y'all think so far. I'm going to go ahead and jump into chat and see what the chat is saying regarding the case. Seeing we're a little bit further behind with the chats. I'm like 30 minutes away from the chat, but that's okay. We are going to catch up. Okay, CM Lady, that's what I'm going to say. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I watched Leah on New York Housewives. She was extremely dishonest. I feel like this lawsuit came about because she wanted attention. It almost feels like that because why is it 109 pages? And a lot of it, she's not really saying anything. And that's really pissing me off because I want to get through all the facts, but they're like all jumbled up. It's hard for me to skip certain parts of it, but I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know her. I haven't watched any of her seasons, but I wouldn't be surprised, right? Jazzy G says, why do they have these clauses knowing they aren't enforceable? It's kind of like boilerplate clauses, and it honestly scares people out of suing, right? Because if you see something and say, oh, well, I can't do that, most people are just not going to do it. Such as if you run a red light, a lot of people feel like, oh gosh, I'm going to get in trouble if I run the red light. But also if you have an emergency, you might have to run a red light, right? But most people just don't do it because they don't want to get in trouble or hurt someone else, right? Not necessarily with these kind of contracts as far as hurting someone else, but they rather avoid it since it's saying that they can't do it. Benjamin Gray says the same reason companies don't allow you to talk about compensation is to pay people less and ferret out people they want to fire. Exactly. And that's not even real. You can talk about your compensation. They tell you you're not allowed to, but there's no law preventing that. Kimmy Walker says to Benjamin Gray, banning compensation talks is straight up illegal though. Yeah, exactly. They can't stop you from doing that. Just Me MD says through those drama moments, assault and battery happen often. So is getting my arse whooped and drinks thrown at me part of my contract too? That 15-minute of fame is costly. That's what I'm saying. I personally just wouldn't even get into the industry and and that's what I was going to say at the end, but I didn't want to jump too far ahead, but saying would fire her and blackball her from the industry. My question is, do you really want to be in an industry that has subjected you to these kind of things? Me personally, I wouldn't want to do it. That's why I sit in a room in my house talking to a camera, because no one can force me to do anything over here, right? I'm at the whim of my own profession, right? No one has a contract over me. I can kind of do whatever I want over here. So my question is that really an industry you want to be a part of? Me, I say no. But also I don't like attention. So, I mean, to each their own, I guess. Just Melissa Smith says they always have at least one unhinged contestant. Seems dangerous. And she's saying that they're painting her to be the unhinged one, right? Just Me MD says agree with Melissa. It seems pretty dangerous to me too, mentally and physically. I agree with that. I don't know if it's more of Bravo's fault. I feel like a part of this, she has to take some responsibility here. You know what the show's about. And if they contacted you about being on the show, I'm sure you've watched the show before, right? Tanya D says, I watch none of Real Housewives or honestly any other reality shows. I love reality shows. Soko SLP says to Tanya D, same here. My reality TV is watching LawTube and LawTube adjacent. We're not reality, or I guess we read about the reality shows, right? Mary Jane says, I think they're housewives in the way that they're at home drunk all day. That's bad. And they do have a lot of, I'm not going to lie, they do have a lot of free time and like going around and going to like all these events and all these dinners. And I'm like, yeah, if I have some free time, I'm not going to see Bobby Joe that I don't like down the street so they can talk mess about Sarah Joe. That is not the things that I like to do. But I definitely understand that. Melissa Smith says women are always judged on looks and men exalted for their success. Agreed. It's a bias, not something people do on purpose. Men in chat can come at me, but it does exist on an invisible level. And the thing about it is it's not the men's show. Like the men are like side characters. The show is called Real Housewives. So a lot of the things they're going to talk about the wives. They're not really going to give the husbands or the male friends that come onto the show a lot of airtime. The audience doesn't want to hear about them and whether they're into, I don't know. I don't think I want to hear about the ladies either. But like me reading that and never watching their season, I know Andy does that. Andy is there to be messy. He's there to be messy. Like, if you don't want the salacious show, go freaking be on Elmo's World. I don't know what to tell you. Like, the whole point of the show is drama. Like, go be on Elmo's World. But yeah, no, the men are there for sidekick energy, not actual the main show, right? Just Me MD says, I agree, Brie. If those are housewives, what in the heck are we then? Real nobody. Yeah, that's why I said I feel like they try to make it like an oxymoron versus like, oh, this is where, you know, women belong in the kitchen barefoot, pregnant. Like, no, that's not what we see on those shows. Mary Jane says they're all bananas in Hollywood. Anyways, I don't know what that means. A Hittinger says, Tom Girardi's wife was on one of those shows. Yes, she was. Did she have some other business endeavors? I'll admit to having not watched any of these, so I'm speaking from ignorance. Yes, so she was, she had her own like singing career. She did performances, she traveled. Now, allegedly, those performances were non-profitable, and Tom Girardi or allegedly Girardi Keese was funding those concerts, but she did do concerts. She was a performer. A successful performer, I don't know. And she may have had other businesses, but that's the only one I really know about. So if anyone else knows, please drop it in the chat. Island says the original housewives were really housewives. And New York introduced successful women. Now most seem to use it to become famous or try to market their business. And they do become famous. And that's probably one of the reasons why she doesn't want to be blackballed from the industry, because being on reality television gives you quite a lot of money, right? You get money, you get fame, you get a lot of followers on Instagram and TikTok, and you can start doing sponsorships and all of the things. So a lot of it is to be famous and market the business. Like, I want to go to Lisa Vanderpump's restaurants, and I would have never known about Lisa Vanderpump restaurants if it was not for Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, right? Now, are those restaurants good? I don't know, but it seems cool. Okay. Tanya D says that's on her if she knew she had issues with alcohol. I agree with that. I'm sorry. I get it. The whole forcing her thing, I don't agree with that. Like, they shouldn't have if true, they shouldn't have like, oh yeah, girl, go ahead and drink here, look, here's a bottle, let's chug. Like, things like that, I think are like completely inappropriate. I've been in situations like that. I didn't really take offense to it because I don't have like an alcohol disorder, but in college, people tried to peer pressure you to drink so that you would have fun. Not that you need to drink to have fun, but people try to peer pressure you. I wouldn't necessarily take offense to it, but if I did have some type of alcohol disorder, I probably just wouldn't go to the party, right? So it's interesting. It's interesting. Just Me MD said, I agree to Tiny D. As an adult, I am responsible for my own triggers and how I handle them. I agree. I can't get behind the whole, oh, they had alcohol still at the party. And some of the parties are like thrown at the other wife's house. So you're going to tell me I can't have alcohol at my own party because we have to invite Leah? Leah can't come then, like, right? That's not fair to everybody else that don't have that disorder, right? I know I'm messing up your name. CM Letty says, there are many sober housewives. It's Leah's responsibility not to drink. That's what I said. Even on Vanderpump Rules, which tend to have younger age castmates, they are sober and they are able to be around their friends that drink alcohol without them having these sober. Now, the question is, do they still blow up and pop off? They definitely still blow up and pop off. So is it the alcohol that's the issue, or are these people just drama filled because they're on a reality TV show? It's probably that they're drama filled because they're on a reality TV show. She's exacerbating it herself by not being able to turn down drinks. Okay. And like I said, if the younger people, in my opinion, if the younger people can do it with no issues, I feel like, and I don't know how old she is, but I assume she's older than the Vanderpump Rules sober people who are 30 and under. I would assume she could do it too. But, you know, who am I to judge? And also, she breached her soberness but prior to even getting on the show. So is it the show's fault, or is it your fault because you're putting yourself around alcohol knowing that you can't handle it? That would be my question. Like I said, the whole pressuring thing, sure, that's wrong. But also, you have to take some type of accountability here, right? Just Me MD says, isn't this why Alcohol Anonymous and I think Narcotics Anonymous tell you not to be around alcohol and drugs, period? That's what I'm saying. If you're a bartender and you know you can't be around alcohol and you have an alcohol disorder, they might put you in the back in the kitchen, or they might, make you a waiter. So you're only like delivering the drinks. That to me is a reasonable accommodation. We're not going to fire you, but you can go be a sous chef and start cutting calamari. I don't know if you cut calamari, but you can go do that in the back versus being around the drinks, right? Because even being a waiter, you might want to dip your finger in there and lick it. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, you're not supposed to be around it. Z Seltzer says, y'all need to watch the show Unreal. It's a drama about what happens behind the scenes of reality show. I loved it. What channel is that on? Z Seltzer says, it kind of explains what she is saying. Yeah, and that's what we need, more detail. She's not giving us the details of what's happening. And I say it is wrong to basically push it on her. But also there needs to be some accountability. If you can't be around it, you can't be around it. Maybe this is not the show. This is not the season for you to be on the show, right? Maybe you come back in a couple of years when you have a better grasp on it. Okay. Mary Jane says she could go to the Circle. The amount of booze on that show was pitiful. I haven't watched the Circle in like many seasons, so I don't know if you mean they have a lot of booze or no booze at all. Tanya says, I think you have to ask for accommodations if you disclose. Yeah. And so she said she did ask. She didn't really give us details of what she actually asked for, but she said she did ask. Kimmy Locker says, you have to formally request reasonable accommodations under the ADA, but I really don't think her alcoholism qualifies as a disability because it has to do with substantially, why am I saying substantiality? Substantially limit a major life activity, which, I mean, she was still able to pop off and do the show, which is what the show is premised on. So is the alcohol hindering her? I don't know. And like I said, she may not even have a diagnosis. She might be self-diagnosed, right? We don't know. A Hittinger says, I'm with your earlier statement that I'm not sure there can be a reasonable accommodation here. Almost anywhere else, I think I could see this. Yeah. And my thing is, the option is to just not go to the scenes with the alcohol, which is like every scene. So it's almost like just don't be on the show at that point. I mean, if they're just like at lunch, maybe that's a scene she can be a part of, or like sometimes they just sit on the couch and they talk. And a lot of times, like even I talk about Lisa Vanderpump because I watch Beverly Hills. She's like, do you want a cup of tea? Do you want some water or some tea? Maybe you only go and hang out with the Lisa Vanderpumps of the season. I don't know, again, how to reasonably accommodate that. Katie Cotton says, I would call it a hostile work environment to encourage. Okay, yeah, that is one of the things. So thank you for pointing that out. Completely forgot about that part of it. It's the hostile environment as far as the pressuring goes. But I don't know if it's discrimination. I don't think it's discrimination. So I agree with Katie Cotton here that it's a hostile work environment. Tanya D says, I'm still waiting to see what they did to discriminate. And she got to it a little bit. Oh, no, she hasn't got to the discrimination. No, she has not gotten into that yet. The hostile work environment, I agree with Katie. She has gotten to. Tanya D says they like drama, so build it into the show that they always have to make mocktails for her. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that could be a reasonable accommodations, right? Or, just drink water. But her point is that they were encouraging her. So I don't know. Soda, anything? I don't know. Just Me MD says, I would love to see the details of their contracts. I would too, eventually, hopefully. I want to see them too. CM Lady says, how do you willingly sign a contract to go back to a show and then complain? Being on the Housewives is not a requirement. Precisely. She doesn't want to get blackballed. Season 12, sure, I messed up. I had a horrible time. Again, she's blaming them for the relapse when she had just relapsed like a month earlier. Maybe you need to go do some other therapy and deal with those things prior to coming onto a show that have that's highly involved with alcohol, right? Because she had relapse on her own prior to starting the show, and then relapse again on the show, and then blame the show. So how did you my question would be, how did you relapse prior to the show? Because she said 5 months prior to starting the show, she relapsed. She was relapsing for 4 months, and then 30 days before starting the show, she became sober again. So what caused the first relapse? And is Bravo going to pull that information out in the lawsuit? Yeah, they're going to say, we didn't cause her to relapse. She was already relapsable. I don't know if that's a word, but she was already relapsing. So how are you going to blame us? And it's going to be a he said, she said, oh yeah, we never told her to drink alcohol. I don't know what she's talking about. Or maybe we said, no, we told her not to drink. And she said, well, I can drink it. I just won't drink too much. I'll just have one drink. And we said, okay. Like, we don't know what's going to come out of Bravo's side. And then, like you said, it's not a requirement. Then she signs up for season 13. And then she signs up for Ultimate Girls Trip. Like, what do you have going on, lady? Stop signing up. Mary Jane says, I think they pressured her. There would be pressure to comply. Yeah, and that would go to the hostile work environment. Jerry Lass says, JD jabbers. He's standing at the TV talking at you. He likes your voice. Is that a cat? Well, thank you, JD Jabbers. Love that. BJ but no bear says, so I guess the big question is, does consumption of alcohol count as a requirement in the official job description? The out for accommodations is that the employee must be able to do their duties. Good point. If that is something, this show involves consumption of alcohol, going on these trips, doing these things, you have to be able to accommodate us, basically, right? That would be let's see the contracts. That's a good point. CM Letty says she talked about these issues on the show, but she said she talked about it privately, but she's talking about it on the show too. So I'm not all the way on her side. I think she has a point with the hostile work environment so far. The discrimination based on gender, that one's a little iffy. Hopefully she gives us some more information, because guess what? She decides to appear on season 13, which we're going to get into in a minute. Island says that wouldn't be a HIPAA violation. Island says HIPAA just prevents your healthcare provider from sharing your info. That's what I was thinking, but I wasn't quite sure. So thank you, Elin, for letting us know that. A Hidden Girl says HIPAA generally targets people who have to disclose to usually medical personnel. And the reason why I was like not too sure about it is because I've seen something going around where like the school nurses, but that would still be on the medical side of things, asking certain medical questions for the whole school, or for the clerk to review and then hand it over to the nurses. So that's why I was like, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be your health professional. So yeah, thank you guys for pointing that out. And then Cami Locker says employers aren't covered under HIPAA, and they are required to keep employees' private medical information confidential. And my question in this situation would be, with her just saying, hey, I have alcoholism and depression, is that something, or bipolar, is that something that they have to keep confidential? If she's just saying it, I don't know if she gave them a paper or anything, but if she's just saying, hey, by the way, I'm bipolar, is that something they have to keep confidential? Lauren Turner says, I'm behind on the stream, but in Canada, alcohol use disorder is covered under the our Provincial Human Rights Act, as it is considered a mental health disorder. Okay, interesting. I don't know if it is one here in the United States, and I think Kimmy did some research already, basically saying that it's not unless it substantially impairs your ability to function. Kimmy Locker says husbands aren't cast members and interviewed the same way as the housewives, though. And to tell you the truth, the people are not watching the show for the freaking husbands. They're watching it for the women that they're watching. They want to hear about the women. Right? And a lot of the questions come from things that people are asking on the internet. So I agree with you there. I can't say this word. Axelotland says, I think that's right. Axelotland. It feels like she has regrets and disowns her own responsibility in the situation. I would agree with that. There is some parts I could see her fighting, but she muddied the water. Too much info without focus on the right stuff. I agree. And you only need to plead facts sufficient to state a claim. You don't need to plead all the facts, girl. Every single thing you went through, we don't need to know. Kimmy Lockett says, don't forget to like the stream. If you haven't, everybody, if you've already liked, then share so we can get more friends. Yes, thank you for the reminder, Kimmy. If you guys have not hit the like button, please do. Let me go ahead and see. We are at 89 likes. Our goal for the stream is 100 likes. We actually have quite a while to go on the live stream. So if you have not hit the like button, please do. I think we're going to surpass our goal. So definitely appreciate everyone who has hit the like button so far. Okay. I will go ahead and wait, sorry, going back to the chat. Sorry, I got distracted reading a private chat here. Let's see here. Mary Jane says, don't go to the restaurant, Brie. It's sus. Is it? Have you been? Oh man, to Vanderpump's restaurants? Mary Jane says, I don't trust Hollywood. Have you been to the restaurant though? Nissa Howard says, Adam Ruins Everything did an episode on reality TV. Ariana from Vanderpump Rules was on it. Okay, that's a good one. Just Me MD says, Mama used to say, if your friends run through a fire with gasoline undies on, are you going to do it? No, right? No. A Henninger says to Just Me MD, smart mama. Mine always said the same thing about jumping off a bridge. And I responded that I would at least look and see if they had a good reason for that. See if it's really a far jump, right? Mary Jane says, LOL, pitiful means not enough booze. Okay, yeah, I was like, I don't know if that means it was too much or not enough. But as far as the circle goes, is not having enough. Alki. Melissa Smith says, when addicts enter recovery. Oh, thank you for the $20 super chat too. Oh, thank you. Let's shout out to Melissa for the $20 super chat. Definitely appreciate it. When addicts enter recovery, they stop using first and heal their bad behaviors later. My dad ruined my uncle's wedding because they refused to have a dry reception. There is a line between asking for support and entitlement. I can definitely agree with that. Like I said, let's be reasonable here. We can't just stop other people's good time, whether you need alcohol for a good time or not. We can't just stop other people's good times because of something that you don't do. There's actually people in my family that has some of this entitlement as well. Again, thank you for the super chat. Definitely appreciate it. The chat definitely appreciates it. Kimmy said, you asked if I have Zelle. I do. And I also have a PayPal link. I'll have to go find it because I have not been putting it in my description boxes lately. So I think I can probably put that in my description box later. So thank you again for the super chat. Definitely appreciate it. Kimmy Lockett says, my mom used to say that you're the app. Oh, let me see. My mom used to say that you're the average of the people you spend the most time with. Not a metaphor, but pretty wise in my opinion. Yeah, I agree. Definitely agree. Cheryl C says, if you have a problem with alcohol, get the heck out of the restaurant industry altogether. Agreed. I was in it for years, and most people who tried to get healthy sober had to leave the industry. And that's why I said, with even being a waiter, you're looking at the drinks and you're like, well, let me taste it, which is nasty because then you're going to give somebody the drink. But yeah, reasonable accommodation. I'm like, get in the back of the, do kitchen work or whatever, but you cannot be behind the bar at that point. Kristen Offer says, it's the relapse prior to the show that is getting to me. Why would anyone put themselves in that kind of environment knowing they are at risk of another relapse? Me too. That I agree with you wholeheartedly. Why would you do that? And then blame someone else for it. I agree. I forgot who said it earlier, but sounds like that she had regrets, right? Anissa Howard says school is FERPA. I don't know what you mean by that. Tiny says, me too to Christopher. Or Christopher Nur, I think, or maybe I read it wrong earlier. I'm sorry. She knew she was not at a good point in her sobriety, knowing what type of show it is, especially 2 shows at that. 3. She did, 2 different shows, but she did season 12, season 13, and the Ultimate Girls Trip. So I don't know what was her her issue. Oh, I think, okay, Kimmy corrected that. Kentari, welcome to the BriHive membership. Thank you for joining. Welcome. Thank you for becoming a member. For those of you who do not know what the membership is on the channel, it is $5 a month. It supports the channel, and you get special emojis and special badges next to your name that I created myself. So welcome to Kentari for joining the membership. Also, my members are able to come onto live streams once per month. We do a weekend live stream where the members can join live and give their opinions about whatever cases or topics that we are covering. So I hope to see you there next time we have our members live stream, which will be actually probably next week or this week. So it is coming up. Hope to see you there. Kimmy Lockett says FERPA is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. Okay, so that's basically the school, if they collect information from you, them keeping that private is what I'm understanding that to be. Tanya says, sorry, my phone auto-corrected the name. No, it's okay. Because I was like, wait, did I say it wrong? Did I say it wrong? Okay, let's jump back into the case because we have quite a bit left to go. Let's see. Let's see what happened in season 13 of this. Okay, Ms. McSweeney agrees to continue employment. Why? And appear on season 13. If you think that they made you look a mess, why would you join again? Let's see if her experience got any better. Y'all, and we are at 95 likes. So if you haven't hit the like button, please do. We're almost at our goal. Tantamount to the abusive relationship, Ms. McSweeney agreed to return for season 13 because she felt it could make her experience better. So basically trying to redeem herself is what I get from that. There is no question that defendants maintain acute awareness of Ms. McSweeney's disability, which includes depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, and addiction. In fact, prior to filming season 13 on February 4th, 2020, Ms. McSweeney met defendant Bravo employees at the Odeon in New York to discuss the upcoming season. At the meeting, defendant Bravo employees Susan Kavu, I cannot say that, and Ryan Flynn questioned Ms. McSweeney why Ms. McSweeney did not consume alcohol at the meeting. Ms. McSweeney responded that she was recently sober and intended to maintain sober while filming season 13. Defendant Bravo employees responded, well, you don't have a problem, do you? ? Even though they knew Ms. McSweeney suffered from alcoholism and openly discussed her struggles with alcoholism on many occasions. Upon information and belief, defendant Bravo employees asked Ms. McSweeney, wait, how you gonna say upon information and belief? Did they ask you or did they not ask you? Okay. Ask Ms. McSweeney this question with, the intent, sorry. Speaking before I get to the point, ask this question with the intent to pressure her to consume alcohol on season 13 and to minimize her alcohol disorder rather than accommodate it. Also, before Ms. McSweeney began filming of season 13, the defendant Bravo employees told Ms. McSweeney that former castmate Dorina Medley was fired from New York and would not appear on season 13. Defendant Shannon specifically told McSweeney, and upon information and belief, also told the other cast members that defendant terminated Medley because Medley transferred from a fun drunk to a mean drunk. Well, that would kind of support your thing. They don't want aggressive drunks on the show. In fact, defendants' employees continue to make discriminatory comments directed towards other castmates' alcohol use disorder disability prior to the filming of season 13. Barry Bernstein, an executive producer employed by defendant Ched, told the Miss McSweeney that she is tired. They're missing a word of cast member Sonia Morgan's storyline, which involved excessive alcohol consumption because it was becoming pathetic. Upon information and belief, defendant Shannon told this to Ms. McSweeney with the implication that Ms. McSweeney should be a fun drunk and not a mean or pathetic drunk, blatantly ignoring Ms. McSweeney's request for a reasonable accommodation request, namely for defendants to respect and not interfere with Ms. McSweeney's sobriety. I didn't really get that from that. It sounds like they're just talking mess about the other people, in my opinion, but sure, go off, sis. When the season 13 began filming, In spite of the discrimination she was faced and continued to face, Ms. McSweeney worked vigorously to protect her sobriety and throughout the season increasingly made requests for accommodations and and issued complaints of discrimination. Okay, so she is now taking the steps that she needed to take in order to say, okay, I requested accommodations. The other question is it actually a disability? But at least she requested the accommodations. Let's see. After the success of Hurricane Leah episode, however, defendants had no plan to help Miss McSweeney maintain her sobriety. On one occasion, Miss McSweeney, whom defendants knew to be particularly sensitive to emotionally distressing situations, began to suffer a panic attack and exclaimed, "I wish I still effing drank right now." How is that their fault? How's that their fault that she said that? Despite knowing that Ms. McSweeney was struggling to maintain her sobriety, defendant Cohen and defendant producers failed to offer her any reasonable accommodations or engage in the interactive process to develop. How is that Andy Cohen's fault? Mutually agreed accommodations. Instead, defendants saw Ms. McSweeney's struggle as an opportunity to put Ms. McSweeney in situations where she felt pressure to relapse. Defendants also humiliated her by joking about Ms. McSweeney's I wish they didn't write Miss McSweeney so much. It's tongue-tying me, and I don't like it. Her name is hard to say. Plaintiff experienced with alcohol use disorder on season 12 while filming season 13. Though Miss McSweeney requested defendants accommodate her disorder by no longer joking about her relapse, defendant ignored her request for accommodations and refused. I don't know if that's an accommodation, though. I'm still in agreement with Katie that it would be hostile work environment versus a failure to accommodate a disability. Ms. McSweeney's request for accommodation was both simple and completely reasonable. She requested that defendants, here's her request, y'all. She requested that defendants allow her to maintain sober without interference and harassment. However, these requests fell on deaf ears. Okay. I feel like that's also hard. Those are kind of vague terms, but sure, that's fine. Upon information and belief, Ms. McSweeney's efforts to maintain sobriety caused defendants to retaliate against her for making the request. Indeed, Ms. McSweeney maintained her sobriety throughout season 13, despite the hostile work environment, and she got negative performance reviews. Defendants conducted a focus group that determined that Ms. McSweeney was to be the favorite member of season 12. So since she's not erratic and drinking there, she's not the favorite anymore. Is that what she's trying to say? Okay, that the audience would think that she was boring when the same was not true. It hopes that Miss McSweeney would relapse. Oh gosh, they hope that she would relapse because so people wouldn't think that she was boring. Let's see here. They didn't think they would like her because she's not drinking. They failed to accommodate the female cast member disability instead of glorifying their alcohol use disorder. Shannon, and for example, she said defendant Shannon and executive producer Barry Bernstein glorified the fact that another cast member, Luann DeLipsis, who had vocalized her experience with alcohol use disorder and incarceration due to alcohol use disorder, relapsed after Miss DeLipsis, I don't know if I'm saying that right, began drinking again. Defendant Shannon remarked to Miss McSweeney, I love when Luann is on. Another thinly veiled direction to Miss McSweeney that she too needed to be on, i.e. drinking. I think she's reading into it. They're talking about other people and you're saying that's encouragement for them to want you to drink. Okay. So as a result, McSweeney feared that her sobriety would cause a trickle-down effect where if she continued to drink during season 13, that defendant Cohen, defendant producer, and that the audience would think that she was boring, Cohen would no longer want her on the show and she would lose her job. So is Cohen, I thought he was just on Watch What Happens Live versus like a producer of the Real Housewives of New York. But I guess she said that she refused to drink, so they retaliated against her. Ms. McSweeney refused to relapse on addiction. Defendants attempted to exacerbate her mental health disability in hopes to worsen her mental health. And erratic behavior. For example, during the trip to the Hamptons, Ms. McSweeney experienced a significant decline in mental health due to the impending death of her grandmother, Specifically, Ms. McSweeney's disability manifested itself in a form of repeated panic attacks that defendant producers witnessed. They didn't reasonably accommodate her by allowing her to leave the trip and temporarily cease filming. Ms. McSweeney asked for this accommodation to visit her dying grandmother. I don't know if this is an accommodation, though. I think she's suing under the wrong things. I'm sorry. I think she's suing under the wrong things, but maybe to have a better chance at succeeding, she decided to make it like discrimination. But them telling her that she couldn't go because she's having a mental health impact, a mental health crisis, I don't think is discrimination, because you signed a contract to be there on these particular events. And I think they would have refused anybody to leave for any reason. Right now, is it a violation of something else? Maybe, but discrimination, I don't think so. Because we've read other things of them turning down, telling people if they leave that they're gonna shoot. What is her name? Renee Poach in Love is Blind. If you leave, then we're gonna fine you $50,000. That's literally in their contract that they cannot leave without the permission of the production. So I don't think that had anything to do to exacerbate your mental health, ma'am. I think they would have done that to anybody because they're trying to make a freaking TV show. So I don't agree that that's a lack of accommodation. Let me know what y'all think about that in the comments. Instead of reasonably accommodating Ms. McSweeney and or engaging in an interactive process with Ms. McSweeney, defendants told Ms. McSweeney to lighten up and have more fun, and that her personality is a lot different when she's drinking. Hostile. Furthermore, in a flagrant disregard for Ms. McSweeney's request to temporarily cease filming, defendants only allowed Ms. McSweeney to discuss the possibility of visiting her filming her. They wanted to film her while she visited her grandma dying? That's messed up. Rather, defendants filmed Ms. McSweeney as they told her that she could leave if she wanted. However, after working for defendants for more than 2 years, Ms. McSweeney understood this meant that if she left, she would suffer severe consequences. Again, they told you can leave if you wanted to, and you assumed that you would get some type of backlash. I don't know how well that's going to hold up in court. The defendant stopped filming Ms. McSweeney. She continued to request reasonable accommodations. Ms. McSweeney and or engaging in an interactive necessary to develop mutually agree. I don't think this is an accommodation. And they threatened Ms. McSweeney. So they're talking about her ability to earn income. That is not because of your mental health, though. The reason why they're talking about your ability to earn income is if you leave, they're not going to pay you for that episode or that part because you are not there. That is an employment contract. You are to be there to be filmed. And if you're not there to be filmed, then they're not going to pay you. That has nothing to do with whether you're bipolar or not. You're leaving. You better be happy that they're not suing you for a breach of contract, because they put all those provisions in that you have to be there or your contract will be terminated and you breach the contract. So I don't agree with her that this has to do with her mental health. I'm sorry. You lost me on that one. Defendants warned to Ms. McSweeney that if they granted her the accommodation to temporarily stop filming and see her grandmother, she would miss 5 episodes of the New York season and would not be paid for those episodes. That makes sense. I don't know if anybody else agrees, but if you're not on the show, you're not going to get paid. I mean, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I'm sorry. I don't think it has anything to do with her mental health. Ms. McSweeney understood defendant's threat of non-payment to be an implicit threat to intend to dissuade her from continuing to ask for reason. No, they're not. They're just telling her that they cannot pay her. Oh my gosh. Defendant knew that Ms. McSweeney was a single mother who relied on her salary to support her daughter. Again, I am on my own, in her words, reasonable accommodations because of my family emergency. And you can either use PTO or not get paid. I'm deciding to use partial PTO and partial not to get paid. I don't think that they're discriminated. I can't then go in there and say, oh, you're discriminating against me because I'm Black. It's like, no, this is what everybody gets if you have something going on. So they can't just make exceptions for you because you're a single mom. if they would do it to anybody. So she's basically asking for special treatment. Said they're trying to dissuade her from ever asking for it again. Her disability is interrupting her ability to perform in the workplace. Again, she's talking about these reasonable accommodations. She said they filmed her through a panic attack. Specifically, defendant producer told Miss McSweeney that she could leave the Hampton trip, but did so passive aggressively, intimated, is that a word? Intimated that there would be serious consequences if she left. You're not going to get paid. I don't know if that's a serious consequence. Moreover, defendants continue to fail to accommodate McSweeney, even retaliated against her for requesting. No, I'm tired of reading that sentence. You're wasting my words by putting those sentences. After her grandmother died, defendants continued to film Miss McSweeney while McSweeney prepared to attend the funeral, notwithstanding Miss McSweeney's reasonable request for privacy. Defendant producers personally saw Miss McSweeney suffer multiple panic attacks due to her grandma's illness. You signed up to be filmed in your regular life. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't even want to finish this case. I don't agree. I just don't agree with her at this point. Furthermore, at no point during or after the panic attack did defendants offer otherwise to attempt to supply Miss McSweeney with mental health support or to accommodate her so that she would seek it. Upon information and belief, defendants intended to punish Miss McSweeney in retaliation for refusing to consume alcohol. I think they would have done that to anyone. I really do. Worse, Miss McSweeney received fan message telling her that her daughter should commit unaliving. That's messed up. From who, though? That was from fans. They can't control that. Who already suffered from significant depression, anxiety related to her grandmother's death, but told defendant Shannon about she told the defendant Shannon about the fan threatening message. Miss McSweeney told defendant Shannon and the remaining defendant producers that the threatening message related to her daughter caused her depression and anxiety. In fact, Miss McSweeney told Shannon that she was suffering from unaliving ideations. Rather than engaging in an interactive process for mental health, the defendants exploited Miss McSweeney's disability in an attempt to manipulate Miss McSweeney's relapse into disorder. What does she want them to do? What does she want them to do? I don't get what she wanted them to do. Sorry, y'all. I'm trying to skip around because she's saying a lot. Ms. McSweeney also requested future accommodation by asking defendants to remove her daughter's filming obligations in perspective of season 14. Why are you signing up for season 14? Let's see here. Okay. So this one is with the daughter. They didn't allow to take her daughter out of the filming. In fact, almost a year after the Hampton trip, Ms. McSweeney's mental health disorder continued significantly decline. Defendants did not give her reasonable accommodations. Don't agree that that will be a reasonable accommodation. She was institutionalized into a psychiatric care facility because she suffered from unaliving and self-harm ideations. Throughout Ms. McSweeney's experience of extreme psychological distress, hospitalization, and additional outpatient therapy, Ms. McSweeney could not work to support herself nor her daughter. In fact, Ms. McSweeney required around-the-clock care to ensure. So, I don't know if you guys seen, but Andy Cohen basically alleges that this is a money grab. She's saying that she was not able to support herself during her going into a mental health state, which is unfortunate, but I don't know if we can really say that it's the defendant's fault in this situation. She kind of put herself into kind of a bad situation for herself. And I don't even know if I could call this, what do you call it? I don't know if I could call this victim blaming or not, but I don't know. I can't get behind it. First of all, this is all, it was like really organized, but I don't agree with that anymore. I think it's just a lot of word vomit at this point. After season 13 concluded, Ms. McSweeney called defendant and requested that she not be considered for season 14 due to their discrimination. Shannon remarked that if it is what's best for her mental health, then she would not stop her from removing herself. So again, she had the ability not to sign up. But she said that Shannon continued to pressure her to stay. It didn't cease. Ms. McSweeney complained directly to Cohen and defendant's lack of accommodations as she suffered extreme mental health. Did not mention her grandmother's death in the media again and requested accommodations. Again, I don't think that's accommodations. You signed up to have your real life shown. So I don't know. I'm not getting behind her on this. I'm sorry. I'm trying to find some of the things. She asked them not to talk about her dying grandmother. They kept talking about her. She said Cohen specifically retaliated and complaints of discrimination, failure to reasonably tarnishing her reputation, and blackballed her from the entertainment industry. I think you blackballed yourself. Like, I don't know. I don't know, y'all. I don't even want to finish this anymore. I really don't know. And then she decided to go on to Ultimate Girls Trip. Why? Why? You know you're going to be in an area where people are drinking constantly. So she decided not to join season 14, but say, you know what? I will join Ultimate Girls Trip. Why? They put the craziest of the crazies onto there. Let's go ahead. Come on, Bossy B. I'm disappointed, y'all. I really wish I would have read this before we got on. I was like supportive of her and everything. It feels like just a bunch of word vomit at this point to me. And I don't think she knows what she's talking about. But let's go ahead and jump into the chat, see what the opinions are. And then do y'all want to cover her issues with the Ultimate Girls Trip? Because I'm kind of over it at this point. She keeps saying reasonable accommodations, reasonable accommodations. I don't think these are I don't think she's requesting reasonable accommodations. And she got 20 more pages of this nonsense. And it's not making any sense to me. Just Me MD says, cigarette smoke triggers a migraine for me. I know once I leave my home, I may run into someone smoking. Morale of the story, you know what Real Housewives is about, and you are subjecting yourself to that environment. I agree. I agree with that. No comments. I just agree. Island says, it's always interesting to me when someone shows the other side of the convo, but not their own. They ask if she had a drinking problem, but she doesn't share how she responded. Good point. She did not share how she responded. She just said, you don't have a problem, do you? And what'd you say? Probably, no. No, I don't have a problem. Melissa Smith says to Island, there are definitely 2, 3, 9, and more sides of the story. And that's like, she's putting herself, like, if she thinks her mental health are at issue right now, it's going to become more at issue because you done called out 10, she's named like 10 defendants in the complaint itself. And then you're going to go on to say that there were all these other people in meetings that were pressuring you. Now all of them are going to come forward and say, no one pressured her. Actually, she asked us for alcohol. Actually, this, actually that. Actually, she told me she relapsed 17 times. I don't know what they're going to say, but you just give the opportunity for people to kind of just like tarnish you altogether. There's going to be a bunch of people coming to say negative things about you. So yeah, not a good look. Kimmy Luckett says, can attorneys pretty much say anything and everything is on information and belief in complaints? Basically, if it's stuff that you cannot, it can be everything, right? But if it's stuff that you cannot for sure know, if, like she said, on information and belief, their intent was this, she cannot know that unless they told her that this is where their intent. But if she said, they told me that their intent was to exacerbate my mental health, then she can't say on information and belief, right? So they can, but it wouldn't make for a really good complaint, right? Because it's all speculation. Kimmy Lockett says, employers don't have to offer reasonable accommodations to employees. Employees have to formally request them, and employers have to either provide them or a reasonable alternative. Yeah, I understand that. And she kept saying, oh, I told them this and they didn't offer me reasonable accommodations. Okay, what do you want them to do about that? You didn't request them. They're just supposed to make your life better. Like, did you think they were your fairy godparents or something? You didn't even make a wish. You just told them something. Melissa Smith says pressure is different than forcing someone. Not sure if I'm on the she should grow a pair or Hollywood is evil side of this. I agree with you. It's always hard to determine which side of that kind of peer pressure whether it becomes inappropriate or not, right? Kimmy Locker says, I wonder if they literally did a focus group on favorite castmates or if she's referring to a Twitter poll or something. Maybe. Jazzy G says they have performance reviews, right? I didn't know that. Kimmy Lockett says to Jazzy G, apparently I'm confused how she's going to cite a focus group saying she's the favorite and then say it's a hostile work environment for production to say the audience finds her boring. Well, because she's saying from season 12, she was the favorite, but on 13, they kept kind of alluding to, I'm going to use alluding loosely to her being boring because she's not drinking anymore because they said that they like when a certain other person drink or they got rid of someone else because they're a mean drunk. So why don't you become the fun drunk? And they didn't necessarily ask her these questions. I think she read into things a little bit too much. Mary Jane says to Melissa Smith, Hollywood is evil, so I'm on that side, but I don't know if she has a case based on discrimination. I don't think so. I'm leaning far towards no discrimination. Kristen Nofer says to Melissa Smith, right now I feel like it's a bit of both. She should have known better than to put herself on the show. The show took advantage for views. This is like their whole identity, like reality TV is to take advantage for views on the show. You volunteer to film your life. If you know you have an issue, maybe this is not the right time for you to be on this particular show. And that's okay. And I understand you have to feed your daughter, but was there no other jobs hiring at that time? Being on TV was the only job available? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Now, Just Me MD says to Melissa Smith, two things can be true at the same time. Yes, Cheryl C says Andy Cohen produces all of the shows. He has his hands in most of Bravo's content. I did not know that. Thank you for letting us know that. Melissa Smith says to Mary Jane, yes, Bree, picked a good case to talk about. So much to think about. Yeah, I don't like it though. It's not, I thought I was going to be more on her side. I wanted to not be on Andy Cohen's side, but I am leaning towards this being a money grab. Island says it goes back to whether these people are independent performers or employees partly. Same as the Brandy Glanville thing. Are they simply observing your reality or are they your bosses? And they're saying that they were, encouraged to do certain things, but is encouragement mean that you have to do it? Is it reality if they're telling you what to say? It's supposed to be unscripted. So I don't know. Tanya D says, I feel spicy Bree loading. It was loading. I'm almost ready to just get off of this and not go into it. Island says, I feel like she wants to get paid without having to continue to appear on the show. Yeah, she's like, oh, if I leave to go visit my grandma, they're not going to pay me, so they're threatening me. I'm like, no, that's literally what you signed up in the contract to be there or they're not going to pay you. Like, what are you talking about? Most of the time they pay you per episode. So yeah, what are you talking about? Just Me MD says her grandmother's funeral would include them filming others during their time of grief that did not sign up for being filmed. So no, you can't film. And she made the right choice. And that's good that she made the choice. But it doesn't mean that they have to pay her for her to go to the funeral. Kimmy Lockett says, I don't think there's any federal laws that require employers to provide or pay for bereavement leave or funerals. Yeah, there's no. In California, I don't know about federal laws. In California, you just have to offer them bereavement. You don't have to pay them. So I wouldn't be surprised if New York has something similar. Melissa Smith says, what is poor to her? I think poor is my rich. Right. That's true. And that's what I'm like, were there no other jobs hiring? What is her job? What is her skill? What was she doing before she got on the show? Because she came on the show in season 12. And you're telling me the only income you had was this show, knowing that you have mental health issues and alcohol disorder? You don't have any other way to make money. I don't know. Island says they didn't blackball her. She's boring. I'm bored of her. It seems whiny. It does. And the fact that this is 109 pages and we're only on page 31. Tanya says, bottom line, read your contract. I'm sure Bravo outlines everything in their contracts. And like I said, they're there filming your life. And if you're not there to be filmed, you don't get paid. Like, I don't see what's so hard to understand about that. Oh, they didn't accommodate my disability because I wanted to leave the show and go see my grandma. They said, go see your grandma, but just to let you know, you're not going to be paid. Don't leave thinking that I'm pretty sure in my opinion, she probably went in there like, I'm leaving to go see my grandma and you're going to pay me. And they're like, actually, no, look at your contract. You're not going to be paid because you're not going to be here to film. And she's like, you're discriminating against me. I was like, no, I'm just telling you what's in your contract. Cause she's probably the one that said, I'm leaving, but y'all still need to pay me. Pretty sure. I would not be surprised if that was the thing. Just Me MD says, another issue with not so reality TV is that the kids didn't sign up for that life and are subjected to whoever or whatever their peers and the public throw at them. You are subjecting your children to mental health issues, but she's only blaming Bravo. Peep says, I was the 100 like yippee. Oh, did we reach it? I think we did. Let me see. Oh, yay, we have reached. We're at 102 likes. Shout out to the BriHive. Y'all know I like my DJing. Shout out to the BriHive. We reached our 100 goal. Definitely appreciate everyone for getting us there. Still going to be working on the swoop over the next week or so. I don't know how long it's going to take me to make it, but I am going to be working on it. Matter of fact, I'll probably try to work on it tonight after I do the timestamp. So I didn't do any of my shorts or my TikToks. Dang it. Okay. It's been a day. It's okay. Let's go. Anyone says, unless they refuse her water, she had reasonable accommodations. Right. That's what I'm thinking. Like, if they had apple juice there or like water, you can just drink that, right? You don't have to drink the alcohol, right? A. Headington says, you think your mental health is bad now? Wait until you get into trial. Wait until you just get into discovery because you put your freaking mental health at issue. So they're going to be requesting your medical records. Like, come on, dude. And like you said, there are going to be people drilling into her, attacking her character, attacking her credibility. If you think your mental health is bad, I'm with A. Hittinger. It's going to be real bad after this. Both sides can be wrong. That's true. And Headington says, morally, not usually in court, right? SoCo SLP says, congrats on exceeding your like goal. Thank you very much. We are here. It's our like goal of the BriHive. Just Me MD says, I'm going back to reasonable risk defense. Wouldn't that apply here? What do you mean reasonable? I don't know what that is off the top of my head. I'm sorry. Let's see here. I'll look it up though. Kimmy Locker says, I think that's a great point to Just Me MD. She knows what the show is and she assumed, that she assumed the risk. Okay, I was like, I don't know what that is off the top of my head, and different states call it different things. So yes, I think she assumed the risk of being there. You know what the show is. And that's what they're going to point out. No, she knew we never told her to drink. She told us she had problems with drinking. We have other people on the show that are sober and they don't have problems. They can easily say that. But if she knows she can't be around alcohol and she's not sober enough, which is indicated by her relapse in 5 months before the show, you shouldn't have accepted the contract, right? Melissa Smith says, now I have to watch the show. I'm not. I'm not going to watch it. Nissa Howard says she might have been on disability that does not pay well. Maybe. That is a good point. She could have already been on disability and it didn't pay her well enough. Let me know if y'all want to go further into her, I forgot what a black hole. I don't know what I was going to call it something else, but I just came up with black hole. Let me know if y'all want to go further into this. I'm kind of over it. I'm not going to lie. I'm over it. Maybe we can go a little bit into the new, the Ultimate Girls Trip to see if there's more information on that. I'm like, she probably saw the other lady file the Ultimate Girls Trip lawsuit and she's like, you know what? I'm going to file a lawsuit too. Because both of these are filed in New York, right? No, one is in New Jersey. Never mind. One is in New Jersey. So I'm going to go through it a little bit more and see if she gives me anything better. But right now, I am not on her side. I'm on Team Bravo on this one. On most things. I think she can get the hostile work environment. I don't think she's going to get to that gender discrimination. It's your show. It's not the men it's not Real House Husbands of New York. It's Real Housewives. So no, they're not going to ask them kind of questions. And I have seen those kind of questions asked of some of the men where if you watch Potomac, where what's her name? Ashley's husband was grabbing like one of the other males' butt. They did ask him questions too. So I don't even, they're probably going to bring that up. They're probably going to bring that up and say, no, we asked that of men too. So again, yeah, you might have said enough facts to state a claim, but when they start bringing all the receipts on you, you realize that they own all the footage, right? So when they start bringing all the receipts on you in trial, you're not going to be happy. You're really not. Okay. Let's see. Defendant's discrimination against McSweeney peeks through her continued employment. Why continue to employ with them? Did you think it was different because it was a different segment of the franchise? I don't know. Warner, about November 21, 2021, Defendant Warner, Bravo, and Cohen publicly introduced the Real Housewives spinoff series Ultimate Girls Trip, which will air streaming on the Peacock on streaming. I cannot talk right now. Streaming service, which would air on the streaming service Peacock. Also around this time, Defendant conceived of a new Real Housewives of New York program, the New York Legacy. Upon information and belief, New York Legacy was intended to feature star of the New York Housewives that appeared at the same point during the 13th season run, obviously. Similarly, although defendants announced their intent to temporarily pause the production of Real Housewives of New York, defendants purportedly changed their tune regarding Miss McSweeney's desirability as a cast member. Upon information and belief, defendants remain motivated by the success of season 12 Hurricane Leah and intended to weaponize McSweeney's alcohol use disorder and hopeful relapse to promote either or both the Legacy and or Ultimate Girls Trip. So why would you go on there if you think they're plotting against you? On or around 2022, defendants approached McSweeney's to join the Ultimate Girls Trip season 3 as a cast member. Did you not see the train wreck that happened on the first 2 seasons? Notably, the defendant producers also signed on to produce Ultimate Girls Trip and therefore maintained acute awareness of Sweeney's disabilities. As soon as McSweeney became a cast member, defendant again had the legal responsibility. No, okay. Yet immediately, defendant Ward and Paparazzo called Miss McSweeney and asked her, "Are you still not drinking? Are they not allowed to ask there?" And what was your answer? Who made that point earlier? And what was your answer? Similarly, housewife Marisol Patton texted McSweeney to state, I wish you were still drinking." Again, that's a cast member in reference to the alcohol disorder. Ms. McSweeney therefore began to fear relapse into alcohol use disorder before she even began and requested accommodations. Defendant did not question her regarding her sobriety. Why are you on the show then? Because she could have spun that into like being motivational to other people that were going through sobriety issues, but you don't even want to be asked about it. Is that a reasonable accommodation? I guess. I don't know. They can't ask you if you're drinking. They could ask you if you're drinking so that they didn't, offer you a drink. Ms. McSweeney requested the accommodation because after experience constant interrogation on the other seasons, she expressly requested accommodations that will allow her the ability to attend alcohol anonymous meetings while filming. McSweeney, as soon as she requested the accommodations, defendants had a legal responsibility to accommodate her or engage in an interactive process to find a mutually agreeable accommodation. Some other housewives were previously allowed to go to AA. That was defendant producers falsely told McSweeney that this request would not be a problem. Upon information and belief, defendant producer were secretly hoping and planning that McSweeney's relapse into alcohol addiction through consumption of alcohol. She thinks they're intentionally discriminating. She said the producers decided that they would drive Miss McSweeney to drink or retaliate against McSweeney's refusal to drink by forcing and or manipulating the other cast members to turn against McSweeney. On July 2022, defendants began production of the Ultimate Girls Trip. Okay. They called her boring again for not relapsing. That was a loud plane. That was a really loud plane. They said that she's not the Leah they know and love. McSweeney therefore again reiterated her request for a reasonable accommodation to not discuss her sobriety and alcohol disorder. Instead of providing her with the accommodation, they're directing the employees to refrain from ostracizing her on the basis of her alcohol-related disability. They said, get out of your head and deal with it. I mean, I don't know. Instead of providing with the accommodation, Perazo says you're good. Because she basically wanted them not to ask her about her alcoholism. She urgently requested AA. The producers, despite their prior promises that they would accommodate, they failed to accommodate her need to go to AA during the filming and engage in they did not engage in an interactive process. Let's see. They refused to provide her AA meeting transportation in Thailand. Let's see. So they just didn't let her go to her AA meeting. Again, failed to engage in interactive accommodations. She relayed unsafe working conditions to other cast members. Okay, and then in retaliation, defendant Paparazzo and Ward even went to threaten Miss McSweeney continued employment. I don't know if this is a threat, but they said, maybe you're not made for this. You're going to get it today. And if you want to be on TV, act like it. She sounds like she was just being a brat. And maybe they were trying to get her to drink. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this, y'all. As just one example, defendant Ward and Paparazzo showed Miss McSweeney's fellow Ultimate Girls Trip cast member Miss McSweeney's private text messages where she complained to defendant Paparazzo and Ward of the cast members' routine discussion of McSweeney's sobriety. So they're basically showing them what they talk about. The defendant, Shannon, warned McSweeney that if she continued to complain, she would not like what the other women were saying about you, or you would not like what the other women are saying about you, implying that she would coach the women to further disparage Miss McSweeney. Prior to the final dinner on the Ultimate Girls Trip, a non-defendant producer warned Miss McSweeney that if she continued to complain about defendant producer harassment and failure to accommodate the disabilities, defendant's producers would ensure that Miss McSweeney will never work again. That producer directed Miss McSweeney to instead discuss her struggles with drinking, anxiety, and depression in an attempt to save Miss McSweeney from further provoking the defendant. So they told her to address her issues with her disabilities. I don't know, y'all. She's basically saying the same things. I don't think I have the bandwidth to go through any more of these allegations, to tell y'all the truth. She was afraid of getting fired. She thought they pressured her into drinking. It's still more. This is all still her telling about her story. I'm sorry, y'all. We're gonna have to cut that one. I can't. It's all the same stuff. I should have. I wish I would have had time to go through everything so I could summarize that a little bit better for you guys. But I can't anymore. I think that's the end of this case. So she basically blamed everybody else, and I would love to see if there is any evidence of them actually convincing her to drink, or is because a lot of the stuff that they're just saying things, and then she's saying this is what they meant when they said these things. And I think that's going to be really hard to prove, especially, and like she said, that one producer told her if she wants to work, she needs to act like it and address her issues with all her mental health things. But she didn't name them. So it's going to be hard for us to determine, or she's going to get deposed and have to tell them who said that. And then they're going to bring that person and say, did you say that? And they're going to say, no, I didn't. I never said that. And she's not going to have any proof. It's all, a lot of it is just her speculating. This is what they meant when they said that. They were being mean to me, all of the things. So I don't know. I don't think this is a case I'm going to follow. I don't think it's a case I'm going to follow. Maybe when the defense responds so we can get a little bit more information, but this is a drag out of every single thing she thinks that they did wrong to her. and I just don't agree with it. So let's see what the chat is saying, and then we're gonna wrap this live stream up because I'm not gonna be here all night listening to this lady's nonsense. Okay. Melissa Smith says to Just Me MD, having kids on reality TV makes me crazy. My daughter and I watch Kardashians and I used to defend them, but now I think they are deplorable. Yeah, no, I do not support people putting their kids like on the internet and on reality TV shows, especially when the internet, as far as like family vlogging and things like that, because your kids don't consent to that. They're just subjected to your whim and what you're putting out there, especially like with some of the things going on TikTok with some of the kid stars on there. I don't agree with it. So I agree with what you're saying. Island says, after only reading her side, there's no there. I can't imagine it gets better for her if we read the response. Yeah, that's where I'm at too. I don't see how this gets better for her, only that people are going to come with receipts on her. Kimmy Locker says to Melissa Smith, I don't even like kids on YouTube. Let them decide whether or not they want to be public figures when they're old enough to. Yeah, exactly. Like, I never thought I would be doing this on the internet and be comfortable with it. And imagine if I didn't have a choice as a child. Just Me MD says contracts are negotiable, so why not use some of it as an opportunity to support sobriety and share her story if that is her reality and this is a reality TV show. That's what I said. I said she could have used this to basically help people that are on their sober journey become sober, because I think that's what they do on Vanderpump Rules. I think the sober people are pretty good at being like, hey, this is how I used to act when I was not sober. I'm still a little crazy, but I'm not as crazy as when I was drinking, right? So I think she fumbled the bag and basically making this a positive experience because she just was not ready to basically take accountability for her own actions. This lawsuit made Bree tired over it. Yeah, and it's long too, so it was already hard to get through. And she's just saying a whole bunch of nothing. Mary Jane says, "LOL, Bree, I'm tired." Melissa Smith says, "Doesn't it sound like a teenager who got caught drinking and their parents and they say, but it was peer pressure?" Yeah, yeah. Tanya D agrees with Melissa. Kimmy Walker says, "I'm probably biased because I hate the ADA claim so much, and I ain't mad at calling it early Bree. She bugs me." That's where I'm at. I'm like, the fact that she's leading with it as being discrimination, like everything is a reasonable accommodation, a reasonable accommodation. No, these are not reasonable accommodations. Like, this is literally your contract. Whether you had alcoholism or mental health disabilities, you leaving the show, whether it's to go see your grandma that's dying or whether it's to go pet a cat, you leaving the show, you're not going to get paid for that. You are literally paid per episode. And if you're not in the episode, then you're not paid. Like, I don't get it. And they're like, okay, well, you're going to be off for 5 episodes. I think that makes sense. Don't you want time to grieve your grandma? And somehow that's them doing something wrong? I don't know. Couldn't be me. Kristen Offer says, was there a word count they needed to meet for this dog? No, this is excessive. Like, literally excessive. Oh, I didn't even get to the cocaine allegations. There's more, y'all. She just took up a lot of my words. I can't even like read anymore. I keep stumbling over my words because I'm over it. But I didn't even get to the cocaine allegations and also how they retaliated whenever she would request these reasonable accommodations. I just don't see them as accommodations. And then there's also sexual harassment as well. And I didn't even get to that, but I don't even want to. Like, at this point, and then defendants habitually failed to investigate formal claims of discrimination. They had a conspiracy. They got RICO charges for doing the discrimination. Yeah, I still had like 30 pages to go. And I can't imagine a judge reading this whole thing. I just really can't. And I'm not going to read it. So there we have it, BriHive. She ruined it for everybody. Melissa Smith says to me, do you think if this were to go to a jury trial that her attorney would file a motion eliminate for any clips from the show? It seems very prejudicial. It's more probative than prejudicial. I don't see how they would keep it out. It's relevant. She's the one that's saying that they did all of these things to her because of, and it's in the show. She's saying all of these things are in the show. So I don't see how she would be able to keep that out of here. I just can't see it. Kimmy Locker says to Melissa Smith, I don't know how she could possibly prevail on a motion to exclude her behavior on the show when the whole case is about it. Yeah, that's where I'm at too. I don't see, she's basically saying this happened on the show. They're going to have to be able to show the show. Maybe she can get certain clips cut out, but I highly doubt it because, I mean, if it doesn't, it has to come in for impeachment, credibility, right? And also to prove her case. She's going to be able to use the clips. She will be able to use the clips. So they have to be able to use the clips too. A Hedinger says, hey, don't knock petting the cat. That's what I'm saying. If you're going to leave, basically, if you're going to leave for any reason, they're not going to pay you. I'm sorry for offending the cat. Mary Jane says, LOL, Coke too. Yeah, she said something about cocaine. I can't. Kristen said, OMG, there's more. No, there's like literally 30 pages more than what we got through. Like there's more. But like I said, I wish I would have skipped around a little bit. But I thought she had more good information in the beginning. Tiny says, wait, what? Cocaine allegations? She's got a lot going on. Yeah, I think it's cocaine allegations against Andy Cohen. A Henninger says, Rico for the lupus of law is never Rico. Yeah, it's basic. I'm calling it Rico because they're saying there was a conspiracy to commit employment law violations. Don't know how you wrangle up a group to do that, but I just call it Rico. Melissa Smith says, I'm clipping Breeson. I didn't even get to the cooking. Please don't clip that. That sounds bad. But it is there. Just Me MD says, maybe she is not understanding the difference between ADA versus entitlement. That's where I'm at this point. Her lawyers who filed this don't care because they get paid either way. Foolery for this one. I agree. And they got paid a lot because I know typing this out. First of all, sitting in a meeting with her to get all of this information. Oh, yeah, they billed her out of the wazoo. Okay. Christina first says, if there is there a limit to how long the court doc can be? Is that a thing or can it be as long as you want it to be? It depends on the case and it depends on the court and actually what you're filing. So we only have like page limits to certain documents in the court that I practice in, which is family law. But different states have different requirements. I don't know what the rules are for civil complaints in New York and really civil complaints in California. I don't know what the rules are there either because I don't file civil complaints. But it really just depends. Kimmy Locker says yep, it varies by jurisdiction, type of case, type of filing, what individual courts will allow. Yeah. Why am I on the show? Let's just put Kimmy on the show. Melissa Smith says, I just like mixed up two different names. It's Nissa Hauer. I called her Melissa. No. I'm mixing up my own chat members. Melissa says true, but the whole show is how ugly they are to each other. Maybe just leave the table. Maybe just leave the table flipping out. Yeah. And I'm like, even if she was sober, there are people that are sober on other versions of the show that still flip out. They still pop off, alcohol or not. That's just what the show is. Okay. Tiny is asking what the cocaine allegations are. So maybe I will go back to it. Let's see what the cocaine allegations are. It looks long. Where was it at? Okay. And apparently there was more about the sex and gender discrimination too, but I just can't. Okay, here we go. I just searched it. So upon information and belief, defendant Cohen Upon information and belief, defendant Cohen also engages in cocaine use with housewives and other Bravo celebrities that he employs. What is this one under? Sorry, y'all. Let me see what this one is under. This is defendants intentionally discriminate against cast members with disabilities. And then you're talking about the fact that he uses cocaine. Oh, gosh. Upon information and belief, defendant Cohen's proclivity for cocaine usage with his employees is well known throughout the Real Housewives franchise. In fact, upon information and belief, defendant Cohen tends to provide the housewives with whom he uses cocaine with more favorable treatment and edits. Upon information and belief, defendant Cohen intentionally uses cocaine with his employees to further promote a workplace culture that thrives on drugs and alcohol abuse, which leads to a failure to accommodate employees who are disabled and attempting to remain substance-free. I don't know how she tied that all together, but she tied it together. You're talking about alcohol and you're saying, oh, well, other people in Andy Cohen use cocaine. So he didn't accommodate my disabilities because him and other people use cocaine. I'm so confused with how that got thrown. And she just wanted to say that. She just wanted to say that. Yeah. So that's the cocaine allegation. Don't know how that ties together, but in her head, it ties together. He uses cocaine with other people, which supports the fact that he wants me to drink alcohol. And is it really shocking that celebrities use cocaine? Not to me. That's not shocking to me at all. It's not. But let's see. Here we are. Let's see. We are back in the chat. Let me put a little marker. Kimmy Locker says maybe just leave the whole case. Maybe just leave the whole case out. I don't know exactly what you're referring to there. Kimmy says, Bree, I see the chat first, so I've got an advantage. Oh, sorry. It's okay. Just Me MD says, oh, I get it because I said, I be forgetting what I'm talking about. Just Me MD says, question, are some parts of a brief that is so public defaming another person, especially if not true? Example, the other producer suit against Diddy that involves so many other names. No, it wouldn't be defamation because you're protected by litigation. I'm sorry, I missed the question. I had to go back. But it's protected by litigation privilege. So no, it wouldn't be defamation. And that's why a lot of times people put like upon information and belief. Mary Jane says, I'm not surprised about Andy and Coke. I'm not surprised about Coke in general. Like, it just seems like a thing. Now, I feel like it's come out on some of the actual episodes, i.e. Beverly Hills, where someone thought that it was a cocaine party and it actually wasn't a cocaine party that time. And then the housewife throwing the party was all embarrassed. I'm like, girl, no one's shocked that you guys do cocaine. Okay, Mary Jane says most of Hollywood is on coke behind the scenes. I feel like it's like out in the open at this point. Melissa Smith says, I really just wanted to use Latin in front of Brie. Okay. Tanya D says, what does that have to do with anything? Girl, bye. She definitely wanted to say that. She just wanted to put that out there. She tied it together. Don't know how, but she tied it together. Not good. It wasn't a good tie, but she did it. Melissa Smith says, no one in Hollywood thinks about billiards when they hear 8 Ball. Billiards? I don't even know what that is. A. Headington says the booger sugar is all over Hollywood. Yeah, it's all over Hollywood. It doesn't surprise me. I don't know what her issue was with that one. She just wanted to tell people that he used cocaine. All right, shout out to the BriHive today. We reached 105 likes on the live stream. We got one super chat of $20. Thank you so much. I think that was Melissa. And then we got one new member on the channel. Thank you so much. I think it was Kantari. I think that was the name. Shout out to y'all for making the live stream super fun. Definitely appreciate everything. And Kimmy told me that billiards is pool. Oh, with the balls not swimming. Okay, like table pool. Okay, makes sense. But again, yeah, shout out to the BriHive for making this a successful stream. We will be back live on Tuesday. Should have some shorts coming out over the next couple of days, just talking about some different cases that came out this week and probably some of the cases that we covered so far. Tanya D also saying shout out to Kurt for sending over the uncivilians. Yes, of course, anyone that is still watching from that chat, thank you for joining. Hope that you all have subscribed. If you like the nonsense that I talk about over here on the BriHive, it tends to be a little less serious over here. So if you enjoy it, I hope that you guys stay and you subscribe. And again, you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I will see y'all all on the next live stream, which would be next Tuesday. Bye.